All right, I think we're live here, guys. Awesome. Okay, so today we're going to hang out here and we're going to sort of watch as these markets open for the first time since this weekend of unprecedented news around this whole situation that I'm sure you've heard of. It's been everywhere in the news. So we're going to get right in here. I've got these charts that we're going to throw up from time to time. And there you can see my OBS here. But we're going to be able to watch sort of what's going on here and just figure out what's going to happen as markets open. So also, if you don't already know, this is a Canadian channel. And if you're not from Canada, that's totally cool. You can hang out with us here too. But I like to sort of focus my things on Canadian content because I really think it's something that's underserved, especially in the investing space. But for now, what we're going to do to start here is I'm going to pull up Reddit Wall Street Bets, and we're going to go over what's being said there leading up to this market open, because I think that's a great place to sort of get a better understanding of what we can expect to see. All right, so here we are getting into Wall Street Bets here, guys. Okay, so I also want to pull this up, get everything organized for the stream so that we can see what's going on. All right. Hey, guys. Hey, I'm seeing some people in the chat here. Awesome. Thank you, guys. Yeah, thanks for hopping in here. We got Shakay, we got Abo. Apologies if I pronounce this stuff wrong. We've got Bella, and we've got Smith. Yeah, awesome. It's great to see all you guys in here. I normally have been creating sort of content around what's going on in Canada when it comes to the benefits that people can apply for, right? It's quite a confusing time here for a lot of people who are struggling during the pandemic. But I like to help to explain to people what's going on in Canada in general, right? Especially when it comes to things related to their money and to their personal finance and sort of how they can set themselves up to the future. So one thing that everyone's talking about here in Canada, in America as well, is what's going on here with Wall Street Bets and AMC, Gamestop, and this sort of run up of these stocks and the short squeeze that's going on right now. And as of right now, to take the lingo from Wall Street Bets, it seems that the squeeze is not squoze, but that is something that will remain to be seen as we sort of get in here and watch the markets open. They're going to open at 9:30 a.m. So we've got a little bit of time here to sort of put some context in and get a better idea of what we can expect to see. There's lots of different opinions on it, so let me know what you guys think is going to happen in the chat. If you're new to the channel, feel free to introduce yourself. Let me know where you're from. Are you from Canada? What province are you from? What city? We like to have a representation of everybody here on the channel. So last time we did a live stream, there were people from everywhere, and actually people that weren't in Canada, even though it was about the benefits that have been released here. So we've got a daily discussion thread here on Wall Street Bets. Let me know if you guys can see this okay. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. Hopefully that's a little bit better. And I'm going to pull up my Epic Pen here. This is the app that I like to use to sort of notate and draw on the screen. So yeah, you can see what happens here. I'm going to put this on the other page, but I can sort of go in here and I can outline things, underline things. If you watch my videos, you'll have seen that a lot before. All right, so we have a lot of people sort of calling what is going to be the thing to run up. All right. Okay, so this is something interesting we're going to have to look into a little bit. You'll know that Robinhood is one of the largest and most accessible brokers for trading for people in the States. Now, a considerable comparison to that here in Canada is Wealthsimple. This is something I talk about all the time, and it's such an easy platform to get into. I've got it on my phone. It's such an easy way to go in and take a look at your stock portfolio and what's going on there. But here's the news that we're gonna talk about a little bit. This is a Robinhood to keep restricting traders from buying stocks, according to Morning News. If you're in the US, use Vanguard or Fidelity. Both will not restrict you from buying hot stocks. So this was the biggest issue, right, over the weekend, and especially on Friday, I believe it was, that they were limiting people from buying these stocks, right? You were only able to sell them. Now, of course, that's going to look pretty bad in the eyes of most people. because it looks like Robinhood's sort of colluding with the suits and with the people who have interests in seeing these stocks go down. Because if you're only allowed to sell the stocks and not buy them, then what happens is obviously that price is going to go down because there's more people selling than there are buying. And of course, the stock market's just a big supply and demand system. So that's why it caused such a stir. Now, what do you guys think? Is that something that you buy into, that it's this sort of collusion? I'm sort of looking at the chat here and trying to get an idea of what you guys think. I'm seeing people shout out. We've got Shakab again, and Smith, John, and Abo, and Paul, and Vintage 101, Smith, John again. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for hopping in here. We're going to be covering this 9:30, about 45 minutes from now is when these markets open. And like I said before, I can pull up these sort of ticker symbols here, and we can watch what happens here in the corner. And if things get a little heated, we'll go and zoom in on specifically those so we can sort of watch what's going on. Awesome. It's great to see you guys. Thanks for the kind words, Vintage. Yeah, it's awesome to see all you guys in here. So when we talk about Robinhood restricting traders in Canada, what does that mean for us? Well, it depends on what brokerage you use to purchase your shares in a company, right? In the States, obviously, Robinhood is restricting these, but Wealthsimple, which is, like I said, the most comparable here in Canada, they're not actually going to be restricting that the purchase of these sort of meme stocks or these hot stocks. So in Canada, there's pretty much free reign for us to pick up the slack, where there might be a sort of a limit in the States. Now, it still remains to be seen on whether or not it's actually going to make a big difference. All right. I'm going to pull this back up so you guys can see what I'm looking at. And right now we're sort of talking more about how Robinhood has restricted this. Now, I'm personally of the belief that perhaps there wasn't as much sort of collusion and sort of shady business going on here. I sort of think of it more as a big PR nightmare for Robinhood, because we saw other brokerages restrict the trade of these stocks, but they did a far better job of explaining why that was happening. So to get into a better description of what's happened, it seems, now you can debate how true this is or not, but it seems that Robinhood closed down the purchasing of these shares largely due to regulations that were put onto them by their clearinghouse. So when you buy a stock on Robinhood, they're sort of the broker of the deal, right? Like, I work in real estate, I can put it into real estate terms. It's like when you're buying a house, you get a real estate broker to sort of handle all of the nitty gritty so that you can just figure out what you want to buy and buy it, right? And they're supposed to sort of make that deal go more smoothly. Now, in this situation, Robinhood or Wealthsimple or whatever you use, that's sort of that middleman. And when they realize that you've clicked that you want to make a trade, they need to communicate with something called their clearinghouse. Now, the clearinghouse requires them to put up some sort of deposit to allow this trade to actually happen, because in reality, it actually takes a couple of days in many cases for these trades to actually go through. So this is where the problem started for Robinhood, because they needed to provide such a huge deposit because of the volatility of all of these meme stocks of GME, AMC, BlackBerry, Nokia, and we're seeing silver stocks as well, as Anthony mentioned there. Because of the volatility of that, they had to put up $3 billion as their deposit. And obviously that wasn't going to work out too smoothly for them because they didn't have that money. But instead of outright coming out and saying, hey, we don't have enough money to put up for our clearinghouse, what they came out and said is, hey, we're going to take care of you. Just don't buy these stocks because we don't have the money to pay our clearinghouse. But that's not what they said. Yeah, I'm seeing more people in here. Mary C saying Robinhood got spanked and was put into timeout. Yeah, I'll say. it's such a tricky situation, right? Because how do you, if you're in Robinhood's shoes, what do you do? Do you come out and say, hey, we don't have enough money? That doesn't look very good, because they were heading very quickly towards an IPO, an initial public offering, where they would actually go public and start to have their stock traded. So if you say, I don't have enough money to make my business work, then that doesn't look very good, does it? So it's such a tricky situation for them, but definitely the way Vlad, who's the CEO of Robinhood, handled it, especially with that interview on CNN, the way he handled that was just awful, because he didn't come out and clearly explain what was going on, and that's the main problem. Arthur says, I dub you an essential worker. Thank you for your hard work. You've helped so many. Oh, thank you, Arthur. I think you were talking about the videos I've made about CRB. Thanks for hopping in here and saying hi. Yeah, feel free to, if you want to keep on chatting with me, I'm always in my Discord. So there's a link down there in the description to hop in the Discord community, where we're chatting about this sort of stuff too. I'm actually going to pull that up on my screen just to see if anyone's in there chatting as we go along here today, as we follow this. Yeah, you can see here on my screen, here's Discord, but we're gonna put that on this side of the screen so that we can take a look at it, and we'll go into the investing tab. So if you guys want any messages to go right to me, you can put it right into chat, or you can hop in the Discord there, because that's a great place to be also. All right, so this is from the daily discussions thread, and okay, so this is okay. It's a trap. We see the Admiral Akbar here. That's awesome. Yeah, so this sort of gets to, Anthony, what you were saying. We should watch silver. It seems that many media outlets, as well as some people who have ties to the bigger financial markets, they seem to be tweeting, hey, Reddit's going for silver, Wall Street Bets is going for silver, and trying to sort of amplify this message that that's what's going on. Now, there's questions about whether or not that's something that's actually organically coming from Reddit, or whether or not that's some sort of consorted and organized plan to help these firms that are in such a poor position, right? These huge funds, if they can push Reddit into silver instead of having it focused on GameStop and AMC and these largely shorted companies, then that's where they win, right? So you can see why a lot of people think that it's a trap, because of the media campaign that's sort of pushing this narrative. Yeah, Mary C is saying SLV is a diversion, and Anthony's in here saying, I believe that there needs to be some backing from larger firms to help smaller brokers to move trades along so this doesn't happen again, i.e. Wealthsimple backed by Canaccord. Yeah, that's a great thought. And because I think ultimately the risk here is a total breakdown of our financial systems, right? Because when you think about it, so here's the way I understand it, and correct me if I'm wrong, but if everybody places a trade on GME and Robinhood doesn't have the money to put up to give to their clearinghouse, they could potentially claim bankruptcy, if I'm not mistaken, and then the clearinghouse is left with all these trades that have yet to be filed, and then in a worst case scenario, they could also run into some financial problems. And what happens if they break down, right? Then it's the end user, the person who actually placed the trade for the stock or tried to sell the stock, that has already put their money in, but isn't able to actually get the stock into their portfolio. Okay, we see I'm Andrewski. Is AMC going up today? Be honest. Well, it really, I think there's a chance that it will. And largely, I think that because of the increased media attention, right? I think that this sort of squeeze can go for as long as there is enough media attention to bring new people in. And we've seen how much growth there is in Wall Street Bets, right? Like, we've got 7.8 million people now right here that are inside of Wall Street Bets and are joined into this community on Reddit. So I think as long as that keeps growing, there's a good chance that it could keep on shooting up the way it has. Now, AMC in the long run as a company, that's a little bit of a different story. But we're seeing how market fundamentals really aren't as big of a factor as we thought. In the short term, I think it definitely could keep on going up. But in the long term, like right now, AMC isn't able to open their doors. And I say this with AMC having a special place in my heart. The closest movie theater to me growing up as a kid was an AMC. And I have all these memories going there and the branding. And I loved walking into that AMC every time I go. My parents would take me as a kid. But it's not looking good for them in the long term. With now we're seeing, because of the pandemic, Disney Plus and all of these other content platforms, they're just releasing their movies straight onto streaming, and it seems to be going okay for them. I'm sure it's not bringing in as much as the box office typically would, but that's where I think things are at. Long term for AMC, I don't really know. Short term, it could be an okay trade. And I'll emphasize here again, I'm not a licensed professional in this area. I'm a real estate agent in the Greater Toronto area, so that's my area of expertise. But I think I do have a decent ability to explain things in ways that people understand. So take what you will from this, but it's meant to be sort of entertainment and education so that you can look into it yourself. We see, oh, great. I love seeing you people, everybody in here. We've got Neil. AMC is already up to 16 pre-market. Okay, let's check in on that. Is this the best place for me to look? Let's pop over to this. All right, I'm going to keep my, oh, not that. I'm going to keep my, oh, I can't even grab my camera. Okay. I'm going to keep that up here so it doesn't change all that much. Yeah, so let me see if I probably need to refresh these. Okay, yeah, so here we've got AMC. Let's see where they're at. Okay, it's up to 1640. All right. You know, I could probably just go to full screen and face right here so you can see this. Let's pull up AMC. Okay, that's pretty big. That's pretty big. I'm going to refresh that, make sure we have the most up to date. Okay, so it's going to be so interesting when we see this open in about 35 minutes now. That's when we're going to be able to start to see what's actually going to happen here at open. And the reason I'm covering this so much is because, you know, the risk to the financial system, depending on what happens, right? We see Robinhood still restricting their trades, maybe as a way to sort of be more like ready for risk. But we're really gonna have to wait and see what happens here. Let's keep on going into. All right, we're gonna hop back in here and see what's happening here on the Wall Street bets. The same It's a Trap is up here. Okay, I'm seeing more people in the chat. I know nothing about trading or stocks, don't even know if I'm using the right terms, but nonetheless, how does one go about reaping the fruits of all this? Now, that's a tricky situation because no one really knows what's going to happen when the market's open here. And a lot of people are of the opinion that the fruits have already been reaped. But there is the potential, due to this short squeeze, that we see Gamestop and companies that are in a similar position where all of these major firms have these short positions. If we see this squeeze emphasized further and squeezed all the way as far as it can, once the squeeze is closed, then that could shoot the stock price up for a while extremely high and do a lot of damage to these big firms like Melvin Capital we saw. So in terms of the ways that you can capitalize on this personally, it's tricky to say for sure, right? Nobody knows what's going to happen here. But I think the most interesting thing is to sort of watch this and see what this means and the implications for this for the future, so that we can all learn how this is sort of changing the precedent for markets, right? This was never something that we had to worry about or think about in the past. But now, where we are today, there's a big emphasis on this information being public and being accessible, and investing being something that's accessible, right? Like let me just talk about something really quick, because back in the day, like let's talk about before computers, when people wanted to place a trade, how do you think that happened, right? There were these gates that people had to get past in order to have access to this information and to have access to the ability to actually even place trades, right? We saw brokers who took an even larger fee than many of the other brokers right now. They took such a large fee, and you needed to go to them to get all of your information. How would you even look up a company, right? Maybe there was some library that you had to go to, but the information just wasn't accessible in the past. And now, as we've seen the development of computers, and even just in the past 4 or 5 years, how much data is available to the average consumer. This is when the precedent is sort of shifting, right? And I feel like we could be at the beginning of an unprecedented global change due to technology. Now, we already talk about how in the past 20 years, technology has changed by such a huge amount, right? But I think that we're just at the beginning of the curve, right? If we think of this like a curve in terms of how much technology is going to affect us, I think we're at the bottom of the hockey stick, and we're about to shoot up in terms of how tech is going to affect society. And this is one version of that, right? I'm seeing more people in the chat here. I'm going to pull this up. We've got Neil saying, wait until the shorts that Hedge bought expired. Probably Thursday for AMC. It will go to the moon. Yeah, if we see these people who have to close their short positions, then they're going to have to buy stock in the company to give back to the people they've borrowed it from. If you understand how shorting works, you're going to be forced to buy. So that could shoot up the price even more. We see Neil saying here, so Wednesday night, Thursday morning, when you see it shoot up, sell at a price you're comfortable with. I'm just an honest, I know nothing. This is not advice. And we've got Gamer Cruise. I would rather bet on the Super Bowl. Yeah, a lot of people would. We've got Americans, most Canadians too, just saying. Yeah, you're right. Live Free or Die says, this is worldwide. And then Kenneth says, I really appreciate that answer, Russell. Yeah, thanks. I'm hoping to answer as many of your questions as you have and do my best job here as we watch these markets open in about a half hour. Let me throw this up. I'm just going to keep these tickers here, and maybe we'll make this. That doesn't look very good, does it? You guys get to see the behind the scenes here of how I'm figuring out how to make my my stream look okay. All right, so I'm gonna do this and put it behind these so you can see the ticker in the back. But where was I? I was talking about yeah, the access to information that we have now and how it's really going to change the world, right? And I think this whole situation, like the Gamestop and Wall Street bets and what we're seeing happening live in front of us right now, and we're going to potentially see more information on how things are going to change here this morning. I think this sort of speaks to a bigger issue, right? There's so much division in our society right now, and we're seeing the wealth gap split. Right? It's getting even larger and larger between the people who have assets and have invested and have grown their money and the people who aren't really given an opportunity for that. So I think that this is more of a social movement than a bunch of people trying to make a quick buck, right? I think that most people who are invested in GME and are doing so with Wall Street bets, I think that most people, this is a social movement rather than an investment play, right? I mean, the investment play will work with the short squeeze as long as people hold, and this is what we're seeing, and this is the diamond hands meme and everything that's going along with it. But I think it's really a part of a social movement in that we're sort of standing up to saying, hey, this isn't the way we want things to work. Clearly, this system isn't working for everybody, and this is the way we're going to combat it. And I think there's a lot of credibility to that. You know, that there's so much data showing, and we'll talk about it, and I'll show it to you here. There's so much data that talks about how much the wage gap is increasing in Canada. I want to show you something interesting, but first I'll do a little quick check-in here on the chat. Live Free or Die says, Neil, yes, you are correct. Dibbles, let's destroy the silver cartel. Hey, Rusky, how's it going? I haven't seen you in a little while. It's nice to hear from you. I think it was Nick, if I remember right. Yeah, good morning. We've got Bitcoins of the future. There's definitely a case to be made there. I hold a little bit of Bitcoin. Roxanne with a thumbs up. I love it. And 100% agree with your theory as well. Yeah, thanks, Kenneth. I think you're talking about the social movement aspect of it. And we've got Live Free or Die. I'm pleased as Punch, the billionaires lost 91 billion and was redistributed. I'm sure the money will help others because of such more need. Yeah, we're going to have to see what happens, right? Because, of course, people who have these positions in these stocks, their gains aren't actually realized, right, until they sell. I'm not encouraging anybody to sell. You make that decision yourself. But I hope that people are able to squeeze as long as possible, but not get screwed in the long term, right? Because some people might be buying in right now at 300, which is totally their decision, right? But if things take a turn for the worse and we see the stock price plummet, then of course people are going to be losing money on this in some cases, or at least not capitalizing on the gains that they're seeing and might be expecting right now. So at some point people need to sell if they want to actually have this money affect things. Yeah, that's very interesting. I want to show you some information that I recently came across about how the wage gap is sort of splitting in Canada. It's from, let me pull this up. I'm going to do full screen. Yeah, here we go. So I want to get to Benjamin Tal CIBC data. Okay. So this is something that I found really interesting, and I made a video about a little while ago in the context of the benefits. But let me see here. Yes, this is the chart I'm talking about. I think you're going to find this pretty interesting, and this is sort of speaking to why I think that this movement is happening. Right? It's this chart right here. Let me zoom in on that. Yeah, there we go. That's pretty big for you. Okay, so this is what I find most interesting. Let me explain this chart for you. This is showing how the employment in Canada has changed over the course of the pandemic. And you can see here, this is the amount of employment growth or new jobs available for this different amounts of income, right? We've seen people who are making around minimum wage. We've seen over 20% of a drop of jobs available for them. But at the exact same time, we see people who are making $41 an hour and more. There's been just under 10% of an increase in jobs there. So it's sort of speaking to the fact that, hey, this pandemic hasn't affected everybody equally. And even before the pandemic, this was a trend that we were seeing, right? The people that are making a lot of money are making even more right now during the pandemic. And the people who are not making a lot, they're finding it harder to find a job. And you wonder why so many people who are sort of in this income class are saying, why are people able to get benefits? Why is there this support for Canadians? I have to work for my money. You know, that rhetoric is really, really common in Canada. But I think when you look at data like this, it's like, it's not as easy to get a job for people who are more likely to get jobs in this lower income category than in this higher income category. So you can understand why people who are in this category would say that sort of thing, because for them there's more jobs than ever before, but that's not the case for everybody. Let me erase this stuff. I just find this so interesting, and breaking down this sort of data and sort of relating this to what's going on right now in the stock market, right? It's so interesting. Okay, we're gonna get back to chat here. I can even yeah, all right, so we've got some comments here. We've got, everyone please like this video for him. Hey, yeah, if you haven't dropped a like, drop it there, and it'll help get this stream out to more people. More people can watch it and follow along with us, because we're just about 24 minutes out now from watching these markets open. We've got the thinker saying, did hedge funds cover their position in Gamestop? So this is another thing that we can look at. Let me pull this up again. We're going to go to I'll Google it because I don't know the actual address, but is the squeeze squoze. I never thought I'd be typing that in. Is the squeeze squoze. The squeeze has not been squoze. Okay, that I could have just typed in the actual address, because the link is literally just, is the squeeze squoze. All right, so this is as of February 1st. All right. So here's a big disclaimer. So we're looking at the short interest here, and it seems that the short interest 30 million, 58% of float by S3 short site preliminary weekend data. 1/31st, 57.83 million. Okay. Just trying to make heads and tails of this data. So let's look at their explanation here. So it says, okay, listen up. Oh, this is just the explanation of the whole movement. So it seems that this website, okay, so that's what they're saying. The squeeze has not been squeezed. So it seems like all these positions haven't entirely closed. So we're going to keep an eye on this page as well to see what's actually happened. But it's likely that a lot of these positions won't be closing until they see a drop in the stock. And we've seen all of these articles from various different news sources saying, you know what, they've closed their position. But it doesn't seem that that's the case. And it seems like there could be a sort of concerted media effort to make it seem like this is all over and you should sell your stock now. But whether or not it actually is a different case, right? All right. We've got, people saying to like the video. Awesome. Invest and make money while you sleep. Exactly. Bobby Timberland says to the moon and back. We're going to see. John Jang says, what job pays over $40? Yeah, well, it seems like there's a lot. Like, I guess executive jobs and management jobs, things that people can largely do from home, right? Gonna pull this up so we have these tickers here so people know what we're looking at today. All right. And a doctor, yeah, that's a job that pays over $40 an hour. And Andrew Campbell says, you'll never get rich working by the hour, my friend. This is something I believe in. Never ever working a normal 9-to-5 job. Yeah, you just can't become rich. And hold AMC, please. Yeah, that's an interesting thing to think about, is how can you make money for the future without having to actually work every hour for that money, right? It's the whole paradigm of trading your money or trading your time for money versus doing work that might pay you down the road, right? It's sort of like right now, like as I'm making this YouTube channel, obviously YouTube doesn't pay you a whole lot of money, but when you make a video, that exists in perpetuity for the long run, and when people watch it, you make a little bit cents of ad revenue for every 100 people or so, right? But it's something that you're putting your time into that can pay you over time. This is, I think, the way that most people who become very wealthy do so. All right. We got hold AMC, please, GME, Nokia. That all involves schooling. Yeah. And what's happening with silver? Let's pull it up. Let's pull it up. Let's see if we can find the silver price. Okay. So we're still gonna have to wait to see how the market opens. Is there a ticker that you guys like to use for silver? Oh, I realize you can't see what I'm looking at right now. All right. Well, let's hop back into Wall Street Bets for now until we can find out the best place to take a look at that ticker. People in the comments here, thanks Andrew for hopping in. We appreciate your content. Thank you. Passive income, it's like playing blackjack at Rama. The side bet is what makes you money, and your main bet floats your side bet. Yeah, it is kind of like that, isn't it? That's a good point, Anthony. Like, you're working your normal job so that you can put more money into this passive income creating assets, right? Like, I'm a big fan of real estate and maybe dividend paying stocks. You could see that how that will pay you over time, right? Okay, SLV. Yeah, I don't hold any silver, so I'm not familiar with the ticker. Okay, so all right. So this is showing us all around when things closed on Friday, I believe. All right, so I guess we're gonna have to watch this as well. But pre-market, it's up 239, and that's up 10%. So we could be seeing an effect of Wall Street bets and sort of this. Again, it gets to the debate on whether or not this is being used as a diversion away from GameStop so that people can actually close their short positions, or whether or not this is something that is actually supposed to be something put together by Reddit and Wall Street bets. Now, I think that it's not as likely that this is something that's going to shoot to the moon, as people say, because I don't believe there's a large short position in silver. More so, people are thinking of this because they think there's a shortage of silver and that it could be a good investment long term. I think we're not going to see as dramatic an increase here. So that's something to keep in mind. All right, we've got some more people in here, some people that are regulars on the channel. Great to see you, Billy Miner. We've got Pamela saying we've got an error code. Oh yeah, this is the CRB, because things are opening as well for the CRB application today. Pamela, if you're getting an error code, feel free to hop into the Discord. We've got some people in there that are open to answering some questions for you. Gary says, Russell, your info in the past year has been so helpful. Yeah, thanks for tuning in. What do you think is going to happen with Wall Street today? Bobby says. Now, this is why I'm covering it, because I don't know. I really don't know what's going to happen. And that's why I think this is going to be so interesting to watch, because there is risks to the entire financial system, right? Depending on what happens. And that's what we're going to cover here today. We're going to look at what's going on. We're going to take a look at the news that's coming out about how these big firms and these big capital investment brokerages are handling this, right? Because it really is something that's unprecedented, seeing all of these people come together in some sort of movement to try to change the way the system works. And this sort of reminds me of 2008 and what happened there. If we see the collapse of a big closing house like Citadel, which is Robinhood's closing house, that if that were to happen, we could see the totally like a structural implosion of the way the financial system works, and that could be really interesting to follow today. So that's a long answer to tell you I don't know, and that's why we're watching right here. All right. So we've got, and I watched the other video with the housing market and people saying it's going to crash. Do you still think that's possible? Yeah, that's interesting. Here in Canada, you're going to ask 10 people and you're going to get 10 different questions on what's going to happen with the housing market. I'm personally a believer that I think it's going to, in the worst case scenario, flatten out, but in a likely scenario, continue to rise. And I'll tell you why I believe that. There's a number of different things that are going on. One is quantitative easing with the Bank of Canada. If you haven't heard of this, it's essentially the Bank of Canada is buying the government of Canada's bonds in order to sort of fund the government of Canada to spend all of this money, right? It's sort of like taking out government debt. Because of that, there's so much more money in the system, and you can track the M2, which is the level of amount of money in the Canadian system. And as this increases, it's likely that house prices are going to keep increasing, right? We talk about inflation here on the channel sometimes, and a lot of people use the CPI to explain how groceries are more expensive and the cost of a random basket of goods. This is going up over time, and a healthy amount of inflation is supposedly 2%. You should see 2% per year an increase in prices in that overall basket of goods. Now, what isn't included is housing prices in inflation, and that's sort of a metric that the Bank of Canada isn't looking at. So instead of seeing inflation of goods, what we're seeing is an inflation of assets. Part of the reason why the stock market has been so strong over this year and why the real estate has shot up so much. I think that's a huge part. A huge part of what's going on, and for that reason, among others, I think the housing market is going to keep on going up. All right, let's take a look at GME here pre-market open. So okay, we're seeing it down almost 5%. Yeah, it's really going to be interesting right here as the market opens, because that's when people tend to try to make their plays, right? When the market opens, we're going to see tons of people sort of flooding in to buy. We might see a boost up in stock price for GME, but at the exact same time, you're going to see people sort of trying to play off that. When we see that spike at the beginning, which is what I'm expecting, we're also going to see a lot of people who aren't holding the line, aren't having their diamond hands, and we're going to see them selling. And it just is a matter of how many people do that, right? And how it stabilizes over time. Okay, we've got Bobby in here. Saver G says the big guys are cheating and using Wall Street bets. How disgusting. Yeah, you might be right. You might be right with them pushing this sort of silver narrative potentially, and with them trying to sort of explain to people that the squeeze has been squoze, which I don't believe it has. All right. If you want exposure to Bitcoin and are not set up with a cryptocurrency exchange, your best way is to buy QBTC on the TSX. Andrew, is that an index for Bitcoin? Let me see. QBTC, is that what you said? Yeah, okay. So it looks like this is a Canadian index. Yeah, it's a Bitcoin fund. Okay, so likely what's happening here is they're holding a bunch of Bitcoin and sort of using this as an index to track its price. Rather than buying the Bitcoin yourself, you're sort of buying into this fund that tracks what's happening with Bitcoin. Yeah, that's an interesting way that we can sort of look at it. But again, nothing's happening until market opens, which is different than Bitcoin, which is constantly in flux because it doesn't need the sort of regulatory bodies to be open in order for it to be traded. It's all digital, right? And through blockchain technology. Let's check out AMC here. And we're seeing it actually up $3, up $3, up 25%. That is insane. That is insane. And it's something that we could see more of, right? There's been a large push for people talking about AMC. Now, I have more faith as a company in GameStop than I do AMC, but that's just long-term, right? This is short-term trading. It's very different than taking a look at what's actually going on with the company. I've got more chats here. Tom Hale, silver's at 48.1 ounce at silver, gold and bull selling out fast. Yeah, we might see something like that. First Majestic is your safest bet. I've also thought of that possibility. Okay, I'm seeing some nice discussion here. How about Robinhood? Do you think the app and CEO are going to keep up the hype it has now, or do you think it's going to lose a lot of customers due to the stuff that happened last week? I think they're seeing a lot of customers sort of drop off right now as it is. Yeah, we're seeing a lot of people transfer brokerages over this. And the interesting thing is all of the brokerages were sort of in a similar position where they had to sort of limit these trades. And I explained it a little bit at the beginning of the stream, but it's an absolute PR nightmare for Robinhood, right? Absolute nightmare, because they didn't explain that they essentially had a gun to their head when it comes to providing the deposit for all of the trades that were happening on their platform, right? They have to provide a certain amount of money to Citadel, their clearinghouse, in order to actually make these trades. So if they don't put this limit on the trades, then they're not going to have enough capital to use as a deposit. If they don't have enough capital to use as a deposit, then who's on the hook? It's the clearinghouse. And then if something negative were to happen and we see everybody not really being able to process these trades, then it could cause a larger collapse in the financial system. Now, I'm not a 100% expert, but that's what I make of it right now. So I think that Robinhood's going to keep on losing users, right? Because just the way that the CEO handled it. Like, I don't know if you saw that CNN interview with Cuomo. I can't remember their first names, him and his brother, but that interview with Cuomo on CNN, he just came across as so insincere, and I think that's going to cause a lot of distrust. Yeah, if you're new tuning in here for the first time, feel free to subscribe to the channel. We're covering all sorts of stuff when it comes to Canadians and their money. That's what we like to talk about here. So if that's interesting to you, drop a subscribe there and like this video to try to get this out to more people. Yeah, we're going to be talking about this for a while. We're about 9 minutes away from the open here. All right, we've got more comments here. Hi, just joined. Hey, Hussam. Bobby again says, I've noticed a lot of the people who are investing in big stock numbers from Robinhood are multimillionaires and billionaires. That was interesting to me with everything following it. Yeah. Do you think the government would push something like that, or have even maybe thought about it? I'm not entirely sure what you're referring to there. Do you think we should buy it? That's a decision I'm gonna leave up to you. You'll see a lot of live streams here saying push, 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 push. And if you want to be part of the movement, you're absolutely welcome to do that. I have a small position as well, just to be a part of this, right? But it's really going to be interesting to watch what happens. And that's what I'm most interested in, seeing will we see this huge influx of people buying? And if we do, what does that mean for these larger firms? And do we see a further collapse? There's also the theory that what's happening now in these stocks, like if we see GameStop run up even more, we see these firms needing to close their position, their short positions. And how are they going to do that? Well, they might need to sell their long positions in other companies. This is why we're seeing on average, I think, especially over on Friday, a decrease in other stocks because people need to close their positions to get the capital back to close out their short positions, if that makes sense. So we're going to have to see what happens there for sure. Let's get a refresh on this and see if it's still up. Yeah, it's still up close to 25%. All right. And a lot of these billionaires and millionaires have a lot of influence on Wall Street, the stock market, the government. So to me, it was extremely interesting to see how it's going to play out. Yeah, it's super interesting to watch this. Robinhood is dead, Mary says. Yeah, for a lot of people, I think so. 2008, here we come all over again, the Big Short 2.0. There's a chance, and that's why I'm covering this, right? This could be a historic day, and there's no telling what's going to happen. We're 7 minutes away here from seeing the open. Okay. Love that movie. Yeah. If you're new, please drop a like. So, yeah. Thanks, Bobby. That's awesome. I was talking about pushing UBI. Oh, okay. You know, we heard from Trudeau, and he claimed that they do not have an intent of making the benefits like the CRB or CERB before the CRB, which was sort of transitioned into CRB. It seems like that they don't have the intention to push this long term. Now, it really depends on which government gets elected. We're going to see an election here in the next year. It really is looking like that. It seems like everybody's sort of positioning for that. We just saw the New Democratic Party and Jagmeet Singh. They just paid off all of their debt that was from the last campaign. So I think that they focused on doing that and fundraising for that so that they could prep for an impending election. So I think that really depends on what happens politically, whether or not there could be a UBI that comes in, right? Do you have the time frame of when we will be using the CDD, Canadian digital dollar, no more paper? There's a lot of talk in the central banks, like the Bank of Canada or the Fed in the US, about sort of pushing this this digital dollar. And I do have some concerns about it. I don't know when this is going to come in the time frame, but the kind of policies that could be put into place in Canada with a digital dollar, it kind of could range from very beneficial to potentially dystopic, right? Like if we have a digital dollar, perhaps stimulus that they put out, if like take the CERB, if we had a digital dollar, they could track that dollar going into your bank account. Great. It could happen really, really quickly, maybe using blockchain technology. And then they could actually impose sort of limits on that money. Like this is what it needs to be spent on. If you don't spend it and put it into your local economy in such and such a time frame, then maybe we're going to take some of that money back, right? So they can sort of like push into what they want the money to be spent on more with a digital dollar. So that's something that's going to be really interesting to watch. Yeah, TD Precious Metals store is completely shut down. Oh, really? Do you think that that's an impact of silver? CJM Farms. Let me know what you think. Hold the line together, apes are strong. All of us smooth brain apes are going to make something happen here. A lot of people are extremely disappointed in Robinhood and how they played out the situation. It really shows how the CEOs are, what the CEOs are really made of. That's so true. We had the Webull CEO. He went on an interview and he explained things very clearly, and I don't think that they're seeing as much of an impact. Living our destiny. Don't buy silver right now. It's a trap. Yeah, I'll flip back for people that didn't see it, but oh my goodness, that was I love this meme. It's a trap. We got Admiral Akbar. I'm a big Star Wars fan. I'm a big geek, so it's a trap. I love that. That's amazing. So yeah, and it gets back to whether or not media is pushing for people to buy silver instead of GME to sort of change what's going on, right? All right. Hi, thanks for your good work trying to educate Canadians. What's the update with Wealthsimple? Which platform/brokerage do you recommend for new investors to start trading now in Canada? I'm a big fan of Wealthsimple, and like if you want to sign up, there's a link down there in the description where you can get 10 free dollars, and I'll get a little bit of change from that too. But I really like Wealthsimple because it's so simple to see, and people can sort of take an active stance in their investing. You can open up a TFSA account very, very easily there, and the funding is very simple, right? It seems like there's less friction when it comes to getting in there and trading. Now, that's not always a good thing, right? Because when it comes to investing, I'm of the belief that you should be buying for the long term, and it shouldn't be a buy and sell constantly sort of mentality. I like to buy and hold it for 10 plus years. That being said, in Wealthsimple, if you have access to see what's happening all the time, maybe this is going to have a bigger impact on your psychology, right? Maybe it's going to impact you. So if it's so easy to sell right away, maybe you're going to sell when it's not the best time to sell, right? So this is the risk with Wealthsimple, but I'm still a fan of it. Hey, Radis is in here. Yeah, we're just watching the market, man. You've been making great videos sort of taking a look at what's happening with these different stocks, and I just figured I'd hop in here and take a live look at what's going to happen with market open in 2 minutes here. Guys, don't let me talk over this. Let me pull up GameStop, because that's what we really want to watch. That's what's really going to be interesting here. And okay, we're seeing it down 3.5% pre-market. We're getting close, guys. We're getting close. All right. They have too many businesses closing and opening, and the case count in Canada is the fastest rising. Because of this, they're not open any businesses, which closes a lot of jobs for people. Yeah, I don't think we're going to see much of a recovery here in Canada until we see businesses opening back up. Now, that gets into a whole other political discussion that we're not going to touch on too much here, but you're right. Yeah. All right. Wealthsimple is great for us crayon eaters. I think that's a good description. Well, because you don't need all the fluff that's with the other trading platforms, right? You don't need to be able to see the candlesticks every single second of what's going on with the stock all of the time, right? I don't know. That's all they can say to me. Yeah, I thought it was pretty funny too. Nope, I don't invest. Everybody's, yeah, thanks for hopping in here, dude. Wealthsimple, not for me. Johnny, what do you like? GME is down a bit. Yeah, that's what we're looking at here right now. Yeah, different discussion for a different day. That's so funny, Bobby. Yeah, GameStop is going to flat out. That's an interesting opinion. Yes. Also, HASCAP is available today. HASCAP is available. So that's something that people can watch. That's a. I forget what the acronym means, but it's something like highly affected sectors compensation, something like this. But it's essentially for businesses that are highly affected by the pandemic can apply for these other benefits. Let's hop over to AMC. This is doing a little bit better than GameStop pre-market. Okay, and we're seeing the market open right here, right now. This is live, and 9:30. Yeah, markets are opening. We're gonna have to sort of flip around here and check out this data. Okay, so this seems to be not updated yet. The reason I'm going back here on Google and refreshing like this is so that you can see it as big as possible. Like I could have all the small ones like this, right, showing them down in the corner. But I think it's best for us to get in here and actually see. Oh wow, we're seeing an even larger dip now that we're starting to get updates. GameStop down to 300. Below 296. We're seeing it drop here off the start. This could be big. Let's hop over to AMC and see what's happening there. Okay, it's still up about the same amount. It was 25% before. Now it's so it's sitting at $17 US. SVE. Oh my goodness. What was the silver stock ticker symbol? You guys can tell me in the chat, because I am clearly an ape who doesn't understand what's going on here in terms of ticker symbols. Oh wow. Okay, so this is not updating as quickly as I would like it to. Let's get in here deeper. 300. Okay, so it's sitting. All right. I think this is our best live view of this right now, you guys. It's open. It's open. Bobby says GME is selling off. It is. It's sitting around 300 right now. It's sort of even right now. Big banks will kill crypto. GME is selling off. Takes 15 minutes to update. Okay. It's because they can't buy. They can't stop it no matter what. SLV. Thank you, Dark Too Light. If GME drops below 250, it's down. So you think that there's going to be a panic? Yeah, it's going to be done. Yeah, Johnny, I wonder, right? Okay, so we're below 300 now, trading at 299. Wow, and we're seeing it drop even more. This is different than what I expected initially. I thought we were going to see, because of the media attention, the growth here, but it seems like it's okay. So it seems to be pretty stable right now. It keeps on updating. We're going to keep our eyes on this as we go on. We got more questions here in the chat. Hello, my question is about tax return. To be clear, both CERB and CRB, or only CERB, CRA taking taxes from CRB. You're going to claim both. There's going to be a T4A in the mail. We'll talk about that more in some other future videos. But you're going to get a mail, something in the mail that sort of shows what you received and how to work that with your taxes. Oh, we're seeing even more of a drop here. 297. Oh, wow. Okay, let's check in on AMC. Okay, up 20%. We were sitting at 25. So we were at $17 last time we checked. So we're down $1, and we're seeing it drop even more, it seems, right? We were sitting at $17. Oh, wow. All right, let's check in on silver and see if this is something that is affecting the market. So we're seeing pre-market, it's up 261, up 10%. So it could be that people are sort of buying into this trend that the media has sort of been pushing, saying, hey, everyone's buying silver now. Don't worry about GameStop. So it makes me question how much people are sort of buying into this as a movement versus how much people are buying into this as a way to make a quick buck, right? My hope is that it's more people buying in as a movement and sort of sacrificing their dollars to sort of stick it to people who have sort of been against people having the ability to have the information they need in the market. So we're looking at we got somebody looking here look at the volume on AMC. Okay, 163.54 million. That'll be interesting to watch. Previous close was at 1330, and now we're seeing it up to 1590. So it's really interesting to watch just because it seems like things aren't really trading on fundamentals, but are rather trading on the hype around it and the movement, right? So yeah, we're seeing AMC shoot up, and let's see if GME kept on taking a dip. Okay, so it seems to be stabilizing here around that just as I say that, down to 288. We're seeing a huge sell-off. Now the question is going to be, will people buy on the dip? That's what we're going to have to watch here. Are people going to buy on the dip? This is just wild to watch. And we're going to... Let me know if you guys are keeping up with news articles that are coming out about what's happening. If there's anything that you want me to take a look at, any videos, any interviews, feel free to drop it down in the chat, and we'll take a look at it and sort of discuss our thoughts on it. Yeah, GME is going on hype. Yeah, okay, so this is not updating effectively. Okay, down to 290. All right, yeah, let's check out and see if we like Yahoo Finance a little bit more, because apparently you can see the volume as it goes. Okay, so GME, yeah, we can see all of this live a little bit more clearly. Let me know if you guys like this view more or less than the Google Finance view. Yeah, this is updating a lot more regularly. Let me full screen this. All right, yeah, you can see all this live. I'm starting to like this. Okay, we got Sandra saying, I like silver. Silver will climb. It's okay to have some silver. Remember, GME below 250, it's done. So Johnny, why do you think that if it's below 250, do you think people are sort of using that as their arbitrary number for people to sell their stock? I wonder. Can you see Tesla, all of the connectors that are inside of them, and the solar technology? Yeah, we can take a look at Tesla too. That's something I also have a position in. I have a lot of belief in moving forward. Yeah, we can see the live volume. GME is going on hype. You can't really manipulate silver like with the short squeeze. JP Morgan owns them so much. All they have to do is sell the tiniest percentage of their holdings and it'll drive the price back down. Exactly. There's not as much ability to sort of manipulate. Oh my goodness, we're seeing a run up to 310, 311. This is so interesting to watch. All right, let's check in on AMC here and see if we're seeing it follow in the same way. It's still up around that 26.92% mark. That's such a huge jump. People holding AMC are likely going to be pretty happy about that. All right. AMC is going to rally. The average volume is already hit at the market bell. Yeah, it's going to be so interesting to watch. Use Yahoo Finance. Yeah, Anthony, that's a great point. The volume of trades, wow. Okay, let's hop in here to some other ones. Let's check out Nokia. This is something that some people have been hopping into. I'm not sure of how large the short position was on this stock, but it's still interesting to watch nonetheless. Okay, it's up 7% from market close. And okay, let's hop into silver. Up 10%. Yeah, I wonder. Okay, so let's check out Tesla. Okay, yeah, so it's hopped back up. You remember right before we've seen this sort of drop over the past the end of the week last week. We're seeing it up. This is something I was thinking about buying into more. Seeing a sub 900 Tesla, right? That this is something we like to see, right? In terms of buying more. Yeah, it's going to be up and down all day. And if the hedge funds are pushing silver, then something is definitely up. Yeah. Let's hop into let's hop into the forums here and see what's being said in that live feed. There's a daily discussion for Wall Street Bets. So we're going to see what people are saying here as it goes down. And let me see if I can pull up this. Maybe we can do this, and we can. Oh, that might be an old tracking. All right, here's our daily discussion thread, GME discussion thread for February 1st. Hold the line, didn't dip low enough. All we have to do is the easiest thing in the world, just hold it. We don't have to pay interest. We're not hemorrhaging capital. We're not being forced to close long positions. For once in all of our miserable, misbegotten lives, the task before us is so painfully simple. Just hold. Yeah, so I guess that's what's going to happen, right? Because everybody has to pay. Everyone who's holding short positions is likely going to have to pay interest on those short positions. So if everyone holds, then it's likely that this is just going to get worse as people are forced to close their positions, pay for stocks at that price, and see it shoot up even more. Let's go through some comments here. We've got, what app can I use right now to invest in AMC and silver, first timer, and what is a good amount to start with? So I really like using Wealthsimple. There's a link down there in the description. But you make your own decisions about that and do a little bit of research on why you want to invest. And it's really about your priorities and what goals you have with it, right? So that's what I'd recommend. But you can do that in Wealthsimple. That's what I like to use. It's just so simple. Wealthsimple, right? All right. There's a real need for blockchain technology to eliminate the transaction process time issues between trading and clearinghouses. Exactly, living our destiny. That is so huge. That is exactly what I'm saying. There could be a huge potential, and this is why I think Bitcoin could have a larger and larger role in the future, is because it's so instantaneous, right? It's not something we can have problems with these clearinghouses having to hold deposits. I even just got an order rejected from Wealthsimple. That's interesting. We're going to have to keep our eyes on that. Are there any good solar companies that are on the stock market? I believe Enphase is one that I've taken a look at. Correct me if I'm wrong. We've got Don't Give Up saying, if I have a CRA account, will they send the T4A by email direct? I think it's going to be via snail mail, like into your mailbox. And I think they've been sent out already for most people. Mary C is saying hold bananas. Yeah, I am an ape. We're gonna keep holding. I just got an order rejected from Wealthsimple. Yeah, we're gonna watch that. Watch and wait, but only what you can lose. I like that. Like gambling only. Invest what you can afford. Yeah, this really does. It is. If you're trying to make a quick buck off of this, I really think that that's not the mindset to put into this, right? I think the mindset that we actually have to put into this is that it's more of a statement and more of a movement, and to only invest what you are willing to lose to make this statement and to stick it to the people that have sort of been manipulating markets for a long time, and now we have an opportunity to sort of kick back at them. Bet only what you can lose. Howdy. Hey Elvis, how's it going? Robert's in here. Mary and Peter. Yeah, that's amazing. Are you going to save this live? Bad Gal meme, I'm probably going to leave it up on the channel. I mean, why not? If people want to watch it and see what's going on. Let's hop in here and take a look at what has happened since we last looked at GME. All right. 308. Okay, it's back up. So we're seeing some growth here. Let's let this okay. That's really interesting. We're seeing it run back up a little bit and drop now as of 9:40. After the first 10 minutes, we're down 494, but much of that was pre-market before retail investors have been able to hop back into this. So it's going to be interesting to watch as more people are waking up, right? We've got people on the West Coast right now. It's only 6:43. So a lot of people who are these retail investors, maybe they're just waking up now and are going to check in and try to sort of push here a little bit. All right, we've got Saver G. Thanks for all your info. You're welcome, buddy. Bobby, yes, please. What about CSU long-term constellation software? I'm not familiar with CSU. That's interesting, though. I wonder what work they do. Saver G, thanks for your time. People are waiting for their cash to be released as they have to wait 3 business days to trade. Oh, okay. Yes, please save it. I really have learned a lot, and the comments are good as well. Yeah, thanks for hopping in here, guys. If you haven't already, feel free to hop in the comments and let me know where you're from. I'm always interested in asking that question, right? As we see GameStop dip here a little bit. I'm wondering where you're from. We emphasize on Canada here on the channel. This is my favorite thing I've ever bought. I bought it as a Christmas present to myself. It's this awesome map of Canada, but it's all drawn like Lord of the Rings. And I'm a huge fan of Lord of the Rings, read the books, watched the movies, and I just thought that was the coolest thing ever. All the mountains are just little mountains. But my point is that we cover Canadian content here. So let me know where in Canada you're from. If you're from the States, that's cool too. You can hang out with us. We're a little bit more measured here. In the way we talk about things, I find. But this is at least as a Canadian perspective. We can talk about Wealthsimple and what's happening there. And we're seeing a dip back down here to 295. 295. Okay, we're sub 300. I think a lot of people are wanting to buy in there when we see it below 300. So it's going to be interesting to watch what happens over the next hour or so with this. Jonathan Saunders says, if you had 1,000 to invest right now, how would you do it? It depends on your situation, right? And what you want to happen with it. I might invest that, and this might be not the answer you're looking to hear. I might invest that in trying to start a small business that I can work on to sort of build up more capital. Because if you can invest your money early on in yourself and in a way to sort of strike it on your own and make more money and have your money not be traded, or your time not be traded for an hourly rate, which is what most people do for work, I think that can have the biggest impact on your life. So if you have $1,000, try to sort of look into what sort of problems you can solve for people and how you can use that money to sort of start it up, maybe running ads for a snow removal business. It's not the most fun stuff. Or you could do 3D virtual tours. Like I have my Insta360 box here. This is like a 3D camera, so you can take pictures. I use this on all my real estate listings to take those sort of walkthrough Matterport scans. But that's not something that a lot of real estate professionals are looking for. So maybe try to buy one of those and put out ads, get in touch with people, and build out your portfolio that way. All right, there's lots of people watching. I love it. We've got people from Alberta. That's Gameswell, Edmonton. There's a little bit of a delay, so if you're wondering why I'm not seeing your comment, it's a second before it comes in. Nancy Pelosi invested $1 million in Tesla. I have a feeling that may not be entirely true. that'd be interesting if it was. Alberta, Edmonton, Ridgeway, Ontario with Peter. Aurelia. Oh, Aurelia is beautiful. I haven't been up there in a while. Just a quick drive up Highway 12 for me. Mary C's from Ontario, Southwestern Ontario. I have some family down in London. Australia here. David, thanks for tuning in from Australia. That's awesome. Ottawa. Hey Russ, I've got a question about the CRB application. Yeah, you can drop it. I'm going to try to, I might answer it more quickly. Toronto, baby. Yeah. Toronto represent. I lived in Toronto for about 5 or 6 years before I bought my place out here in the Durham region. Prince Edward County. Oh, it's beautiful out there. I've gone to the Prince Edward County Jazz Festival a couple times. Wealthsimple for passive investment. What businesses would you do? Vaughn. Spraggy. I haven't heard of Spraggy before. Spraggy, Ontario. I bought GME to support the cause. Yeah, Saver, that's exactly the mindset I think we need to have right now, because it's not really about making a quick buck, although a lot of people are doing that. It's more about the movement and saying, hey, we have access to the same information that you do. Why is it that you can sort of choose to run a company into the ground and we can't profit off of you? That's why so many people were upset with GameStop and everything that was happening there. All right, Dylan's getting the Mao error code right now. Do you get an error code with that? Or rather, not an error code, but a message. I'm not familiar with exactly what Mao 002 is, but you can drop that in here too. Buy silver to the moon. We love Durham too. Mississauga. Oh, that's awesome. I love seeing everybody in here. Okay, let's check in on AMC. This was doing a little bit better last time we checked. Wow, okay. So it's dropped down a little bit. It was all the way up at 17 earlier. Yeah, 17 was the peak that we saw. That's interesting. We're seeing it drop back down. Maybe people capitalizing on their gains, as we saw almost a 25% increase from close. People selling off a little bit, but now we're seeing it grow. This is so interesting to watch. All the BCers are still in bed. Yeah, maybe people on the West Coast haven't even started taking a look at this. This is going to be interesting to watch. Let's take a look at Bloomberg and see what they're saying about things that are going. Silver spikes. Okay, this is interesting. We wanted a little bit more information on silver. Let's take a look at this article and see what it's saying. So silver spikes past $30 as retail investors swarm biggest targets. All right, we're going to close all of these. Let's figure out exactly what is going on here. Silver broke above $30 an ounce as the precious metal took center stage in the retail investor frenzy sweeping through the markets. Most active futures jumped as much as 13% to 30.35 an ounce on the COMEX, the highest in 8 years. All right. Okay, so let's follow this iShares Silver Trust. Let's take a look at what's happening, and we'll come back to this article just to make sure we have the full story here. We're going to go to Yahoo Finance again. And it was SLV, I believe. Yeah, the iShares Silver Trust. Okay, yeah. So we've seen it dip back down from the numbers that they're talking about, right? They were talking about having it be up to post 30 numbers, but we're seeing a little bit of a dip from that now, although it is still higher than close. Okay, so interesting. And here's the candlesticks for it. We've seen a little bit of a drop, right? Wow. And let's get back to GME. Okay, so it's been sub 300 for quite some time now. That's so interesting to see. All right, so we've got more comments in here. People are redirected to silver. So sad the big guys get a win because people don't care about their rights. Yeah, it's a situation. We're going to see how this plays out. The message says that the service is not available at the moment. Okay, so Dylan, that's just that's likely just an overwhelming error on the page. So just like so many people applying because it's just opened again. So try again in a couple hours and you'll probably have better luck. AMC, rocket ship, keep buying and holding, please. Yeah, so it's going to be so interesting to watch here. Aurora is a long-term investment, better in physical, a good long-term investment. Silver is historically one of the most shorted commodities in history. JPM owns tons of it, but I believe that there's not as much of a naked squeeze on it, or a naked I'm blanking. And they could put, like, I think that there's not the opportunity to be able to sort of shoot up the stock price in a short squeeze, naked short. Oh my gosh. Because there's not as many people with those short positions, right? Or not over the amount that is available. All right. Air Canada after earnings. Oh, is there information on Air Canada? That's something that's interesting to follow. Okay. Oh, we're seeing a dip of 1%. Did they just release their earnings recently, Peter? Wow. Yeah, this is what's going to be really interesting, because we just saw these travel restrictions imposed on Canada, right? We had the airlines shut down their flights to these Caribbean destinations into Mexico to stop people from vacationing. And it's sort of a concerted effort amongst all of the airlines in Canada. I'm wondering if they worked out a deal with the federal government to actually get some bailout money in order to sort of comply with their closing of flights to these places, right? Because you'll remember all through the past months, they were heavily advertising, hey, get away from the Canadian cold winter, head down to Mexico, head down to these Caribbean resorts. They were pushing it hard because they wanted more people to take flights, right? But now they've sort of had an about face, and they're saying we're closing down flights to these places. So I wonder if there's a little bit of bailout money involved in that, because that is something that has been sort of debated between airlines and the government over the past little while. It's something I've been following closely. Okay, we're seeing even more of a drop here, 280, and it seems like it's stabilized. Oh my goodness. This is not what I was expecting. I was expecting this initial run up at the beginning, but I thought it would go for a little while longer. Now, what this could be is we're still in the first half hour of this. People could be waking up and could be saying, hey, you know what? I just saw it go up and I want to capitalize on these gains. But now, oh my goodness, it is dropping like wild. This could be a sell-off of people who aren't really in it for the movement, but we're in it to make a quick buck and are starting to believe that this could go poorly for them. All right. SNDL Growers is going up. February 12th. Oh, February 12th is Air Canada's earnings. Okay, that's the day after my birthday. Very cool. JPM is desperate for help. I've had 2 calls already today asking me to invest $250, and I don't even do stocks. Something about Bitcoin. Yeah, but Tesla could probably use Air Canada for something. Yeah, maybe. JPM was caught with stock manipulation on silver. They have to pay $920 million, which is a slap on the wrist from what they made. Yeah, that's one of the biggest problems, right? When we impose these penalties, it's not truly a penalty if they make more than they are penalized, right? If there's a penalty for these big firms for market manipulation, if they made $2 billion, let's say as a random number, or even just like, for example, let's say they made $5 million. If they're fined $2.5 million, well, then it's not really a fine, is it? It's just like a tax on their earnings rather than a fine. So that's what's most interesting, is that when you implement some sort of fine on these big corporations, you really have to think about what does that mean based on what's going on with that individual situation. 260 sub 270. We're seeing a lot of people target 250 as the point where people are going to sell off, but we're going to have to wait and see what actually happens. Silver is down a little bit from open. Is that right? 27.53, and now we're down to 27.33. So this is I wonder why this is saying up still. Let's check in on AMC. All right, a little bit of a rally off of a sell-off. So we're seeing this sort of track with GME. GME is having a pretty similar shape, right? But obviously more pronounced. 280. Yeah, we see it shoot up at the beginning, people buying in, then people trying to profit, right? All right. Good morning, you guys. Thanks for hopping in here. I just figured I was going to be watching this pretty closely anyways, so why not live stream it and get some conversation going in here. If you haven't already, drop a like on this stream. It'll show it to more people. This is sort of like, I'm trying to be like a little bit more of a measured perspective and as we watch this and talk about what I think is going to happen and the impacts of it, right? All right, let's check in on that article about silver here. So like the buying stampede and GameStop and other small cap stocks. Oh, I just lost myself. That has captivated the financial world in recent weeks. Silver's advance can be traced to Reddit's Wall Street Bets forums. One post last week declared metal the biggest short in the world and encouraged traders to pile into the iShares trust as a way to stick it to the big banks. Yet silver differs in important ways from stocks like GameStop. For one, the scope for a short squeeze in silver is far less obvious. Money managers have had net long position on the metal since mid-2019. Futures and options data from the Commodity Futures Trading Commission show. Okay, so if money managers have net long positions, like they can have some shorts in the position, but also have a long position as well. What that means is that you're essentially helping the banks, because if you have a net long position, that means your long position outweighs the short position. So I'm really curious on if this is actually something that is organic from Wall Street Bets, or if it's something that is sort of being pushed by media and other parties. Joel says, morning, Russell. Love the live stream. Thanks for hopping in here. It's nice to have just a small amount of people in here hanging out and talking about this stuff. We've been talking about this whole Wall Street Bet scenario in my Discord all week long. So if you want to keep the conversation going after this live stream ends, which is probably going to go for another half hour or so, then feel free to hop in there and we can keep on talking about this sort of stuff. All right. Okay, guess who owns tons of silver options? Fuck Citadel. This shit is so coordinated. Okay. So Citadel. Oh my goodness. Wow, you guys. Look at this. So we're seeing Citadel, which is the clearinghouse for Robinhood. This is who stopped Robinhood from essentially stopped Robinhood from allowing people to buy GameStop shares. These are the same people that it looks like they've added millions of dollars of shares in silver. Wow. Okay, that is not a good look. That's not a good look. Wow. So if we're seeing this huge media push for silver, it looks more coordinated. I'm not going to put on my tinfoil hat yet, but that is really, really interesting. Wow. Okay, we've got more here. I only bought after I found out what happened, so I bought to support. Yeah, Saver G, I think that's what it's all about. Silver stocks are up. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up. Yeah, thanks, CJM Farms. Okay, what did they say? Media also controls the market. How do you know if what you're reading from Bloomberg is now real? This is the tricky thing, right? Like, how much faith do you have in the media that you're reading? It's tricky. You kind of have to go down the rabbit hole and find out who owns whatever outlets, right? Because they can technically print whatever they like if there's no penalties. Okay. Can we talk more about real estate too? Yeah, sure. Decadence, if you have real estate questions, I'm happy to talk about that. That's something I know a lot about. So that's the area that I specialize in. Silver as a movement is organic. Value is bull because it's been undervalued for so long. Okay. Yeah, I don't see how it's as much of a movement because it's not as much sticking it to, like, it's not like a haves versus have-nots thing, but I think there is outlook for silver to be positive long term. Wondering if when the billionaires on Wall Street, after we mere apes take them down, will be screaming for a UBI. Oh, man. Yeah. We could see an equalization of wealth, but I think that I don't know how likely that is, to be fair. I think that people with money have a lot of political power, so it's going to be interesting to see how things shake out in the coming years even, right? GameStop 274. Okay, so we're seeing it stabilize here around 274. Okay. Now, this is where I wonder if we're going to see a run up again as people buy this dip. But it really comes down to, do people have the cash reserves to be able to buy and to be able to sort of ride this up again? Right? Okay, we're seeing a little bit of a gain, but yeah, if people, I don't think that as many people are in Robinhood right now. I think they're restricting trades to one purchase per person for GME specifically. So okay, Jonathan's saying CNBC lied about Melvin closing the short position on GME last week. Okay. Jonathan, do you have the link to that article? It'd be interesting for us to take a look at here. What do you think about XRP and other altcoins? Yeah, that's an interesting topic. I'm not familiar with every single altcoin because there are so many. I think it's pretty risky right now. I don't see the individual value proposition for these smaller coins. And I think it is quite risky to get into. I think if you diversify across some altcoins, it might be a more safe play. But again, that's something you're going to have to do your own research on. I'm in the big players, Bitcoin and Ethereum, but only a small amount of my portfolio, because I'm not entirely convinced that these will specifically be the vehicles for this sort of digitalization of currency, right? We could see centralized banks like the Fed and the Bank of Canada, which is where I live in Canada. We could see them creating their own coins and their own technology that becomes the standard, right? So I think there still is risk. There is certainly still risk, that's for sure. Hey, Russell, do you have a video about paying taxes on stocks/other investments? No, I don't specifically have a video on that. That might be something that's pretty helpful. Although if you're somebody who's starting out investing, it's likely you have a lot of tax-free savings account room. And my number one recommendation is to open up a TFSA, and that's again, tax-free savings account, but an investment tax-free savings account, self-directed, a lot of different brokerages call it. That's where you can invest this money and none of it is taxable. This is so huge. The fact that you can put in your money here and watch it grow and not have to pay tax on the way out. An RRSP is pretty similar, except you have to pay tax when you withdraw from it. And you have to pay tax on the income, right? Because RRSP is used as a sort of way to reduce your yearly income so you can pay less in taxes now when you maybe have a higher tax bracket, and then you're able to pay less in taxes later when you're not earning as much, maybe when you retire. That's the idea. Wow, we're seeing, okay. So we're seeing another dip here. It's going to be interesting to watch. All right. I think UBI is inevitable over the next few years with pandemic and tech takeover. So do I, JB. Yeah, it might be something that happens. It's interesting because we're seeing tech increase its abilities and powers to perform a lot of the jobs that we as humans have inhabited for the past decades, right? So there's really going to need to be a rethinking of what are humans for and how do we structure our society in a way that allows for us to be doing what we do best, and for actually accepting the ability for tech to do a lot of the jobs that we have, and how do we sort of distribute that wealth across everybody as a part of the society when tech can take so many of these jobs. There is a case for it to be sort of a utopic trajectory where we don't have to do this physical labor, but we're able to enjoy the fruits of it. But there also is the more negative way of looking at things where we could just see the gap increase more and more with no real reform to help sort of stabilize. All right. Yeah, Peter, I agree. I don't know how likely it is. Especially given how much power is with money. So I think that we need to plan and assume that the situation, the way things are right now, is the way it's going to continue to be, and to plan your life around that. Now, that's something that I'm doing. I absolutely buy into a lot of the systems and try to work my way through them to make money and to increase my chances of a wealthy future, right? Because that's the way the system works right now. And that's what you have to assume. All right. Man first wants to become rich when they have all the money they can possibly need. Then they want power. We need people in power that are rich but have found their soul. Interesting. Equalization. Yeah, we've talked. Yes, you're right about Robinhood. Those buyers might go heavy to silver. What might happen to Air Canada and WestJet? Another bailout? Drop in dollars/inflation? Yeah, that remains to be seen. I was just talking a little bit about how we could see a bailout for these Canadian-run airlines. But there's also been, I don't know if you've heard of this, but some foreign airlines have been sort of double dipping on Canadian benefits to support their operations in Canada. Now they're welcome to do this in terms of the rules. They're able to do this because they're taxpayers here in Canada and their business supplies some Canadian jobs, right? But there's questions on whether or not Chinese state-owned airlines should be able to receive these benefits when they've received bailouts from their government, along with other countries who are operating in the same way. So that's something interesting to think about. All right, where can a Canadian buy Dogecoin? Already got me some AMC. Wealthsimple doesn't let me buy fractions of a share. Yeah, I wonder, does anyone have any good recommendations for that? I believe ShakePay is one place that you can buy some of those altcoins. All right, AMC up 10%, but we're seeing it still a dip over the course of the day. All right. We will have a massive recession that will inevitably destroy lives. I wonder. TFSA withholding tax if traded in the USA. Hey, Russell, love the channel. Keep up the great work. Love from Montreal. Hey, Joshua, thanks for hopping in here, man. All right, UBI will happen. It's going to be interesting to watch. That's for sure. All right, let's hop in here and see what's happening here on Wall Street Bets. See if we have any other revelations like that silver options. And while we're paused here for a second, if you haven't already, feel free to drop a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. I'm talking all about Canadian money and news that's important to Canadians. We've been covering here on the channel more and more. And feel free to hop into the Discord that we have down there where we've all been chatting about this all week. All right. Let's hop back here to the actual community. There we go. Let's see if there's anything new that's popped up here. Oh, more about this. Look at this meme. Stop trying to make silver happen. I love that. How many? Well, I can't remember the last time I watched Mean Girls. Fun fact here for Canadians: I went to University of Toronto, and they actually filmed some of the library scenes for this movie at one of the libraries at U of T. So there's a Canadian connection here. There you go for people who are watching. All right, let's get back here and see if there's any more information here on what's going on. Don't forget XRP. We'll take a look at that in a second. There's no... Okay, so here's more emphasis. It's just people saying, hey, we are not the ones pushing silver right now. Be prepared for a flat week as hedge funds try to make us lose interest. Okay, in a situation like this, okay. All right, so that's an interesting point. So they're just going to do nothing. They're not going to try to drive the price down. They're not going to have any campaigns. They're just going to do nothing and let everybody wait and let the movement sort of die out. That's what they think is going to happen. I think that's probably the best move for them, right? See if people will lose interest. It's going to be interesting to watch if there's actually going to be a loss of interest. It's likely, you know. I think we have such a short news cycle that that could be likely that people might lose interest in the whole thing. Can you guys not hear me? Hello. Peter S says you can't hear me. Can anyone else not hear me? Let me know. I'm not a pro at this whole streaming situation. Okay, but we're seeing it pretty stable here around that 270 mark for the past while. Let's see what's going on Back here on Bloomberg. So we're seeing still more of these. Okay, exposes rifts. Citadel silver holdings. Stocks rebound from worst sell-off since October. Markets wrap. Let's hop in here to take a look more at this Citadel silver holdings and what's going on here. All right. All right. Can you guys hear this? If I play it.
Now taking aim at silver.
Let me see
we started to see silver futures surge last week. We're seeing that again happen in the Asia Open, and all related assets such as silver coins, bars, ETFs. In fact, over the weekend before the Asia Open, coin sites such as Money Metals, SD Bullion, GM Bullion, Apnex, the Wall Street, or I should say the North American version of Walmart in terms of being able to sell a lot of different coins and metals, they were unable to process their orders because demand was just off the hook. And if you take a look at silver, which has been moving higher, the silver ETF, iShares Silver Trust, they were up 6% in the past week, and it's expected to continue to move higher given the attention now of these Reddit traders. In fact,
do you guys buy this?
Investors were seen as holding on to the physical bars, not taking profits,
do you buy it?
And that seemed to add to a perception of a very tight supply. Again, it's the same group of retail traders that we're seeing pushing GameStop to unprecedented highs, but a lot of market observers point out, even though the hashtag is silver squeeze, it's a lot harder to squeeze a commodities market, and there really aren't a lot of short positions in silver. Further, the size of a single stock like GameStop, where the volume before the big run-up was about 50 million daily last year, pales in comparison to the average volume we see in the silver market, about 11 billion in the silver futures market in 2020. And so commodity short squeezes can happen, but market watchers note there simply isn't a large silver short position to squeeze. In fact, all the banks have been recommending hedge funds and institutional investors go long. So it's expected that perhaps this Reddit army may be able to cause a short-term pop, but because the market is overwhelmingly long, it's not quite sure what it will do beyond that.
Yeah, like there's not really the opportunity for a squeeze, which is what she's getting at here. I think that she's doing a pretty good job of being rational about this, but I don't buy. I think that the growth that we're seeing in silver and how it's being attributed to Reddit isn't entirely fair. I think that there's been a lot of push from the media outlets, as well as some tweets from some people that are high up saying, "Hey, this is the next thing that's going to go on a run." And some people who are more in this to make a quick buck rather than here for a movement, they could be the ones that are hopping over into silver. Let's see what's happening with that live. Okay, up. So we're seeing it sort of stabilize here. This is the iShares Silver Trust fund. So we're not seeing any big boost here. Let's hop back over to AMC. Still a drop on average. Wow. Okay, we've got some comments here. Some people not sort of buying into the mainstream media there. How can they say it's the same group when the same group is saying don't buy? That's what's interesting here, right? We were just on the forums there talking about how people are recognizing that there are large corporations that are holding silver, and there's also at the same time sort of a push to convince people that this is the next Reddit push, right, for silver. I don't think that's the case. I feel like the loss of interest is definitely possible. This is from Shane. Oh, hey Shane, how's it going, man? Good to see you, man. We should hang out, man. All right. Twitter was overloaded with stocks and related hashtags for about a day, and the next day it was gone. Yeah, we have such a short attention span, right, Shane? Like, I don't see. I think that's got to be the strategy that people take, right? If you are short GameStop, if you're short AMC, then the best thing you can do is hope that this all dies out and stay quiet rather than trying to sort of run the stock down as quickly as possible. You can just assume that it's going to trickle out as people are like, you know what, I actually couldn't invest all of that money that I invested. I'm going to pull it out. So we're going to have to wait and see. That's what this week's going to be all about. Living Our Destinies says, I never believe any mainstream media anymore. Like Dave Chappelle says, we live in an age of spin and everything is all clickbait. So read everything on a subject, not just one side. Yeah, that's a huge thing, right? In the States, we see people sort of living in their own media bubbles about what is truth, right? You see people who only watch Fox News, people who only watch CNN. In order for us to get a better picture of what's actually going on in the world, I think it's more important for us to sort of hone in on a couple different sources and sort of make our own minds up about that, because obviously there will be different skews all the time. And even here in Canada, you can see the different leanings of different medias. Like we see the Toronto Sun here close to where I live, and how that sort of racks up against other sort of local news stations and what sort of leaning they have politically. All right. How awful that they're afraid to lose a couple of billion, and they're fighting so hard that retailers just want to recoup some of their losses. Yeah, I got an AMC for 11. Oh, okay, nice. Hold till Thursday. Canada Scrubs alt. Think Truman Show. Wow, that's interesting. Okay, let's hop back over here to Bloomberg and see what's going on. All right, well, I want to see if this is actually new. We want some new information. Yeah, we're seeing a flat week. GME, some more people pushing that they're buying. Went all in. Support from France. Complete lies. Stay away from. Okay, so here's more pushing for silver. Let's see what they're saying here. This is from what is this source? I'm on CNBC and Bloomberg, and they're both claiming silver is the new stock we're all chasing. There were a few posts about it here last night. Apparently, maybe one silver post for every 20 GME diversion tactics. I feel like people don't realize the consequences of silver squeeze. GameStop is nice because the people most hurt are shit-lord hedge funds. A silver squeeze would cripple multiple innocent industries, including healthcare. Silver is a very important disinfectant with hundreds of thousands of jobs. Yeah, it seems like this is not really the sentiment that Wall Street Bets is trying to get at. All right, so I wonder if this is actually the case. Shanghai, February 1st. Chinese investors, I'm going to try to get this as blown up as I can. Chinese investors rushed into silver investments on Monday, pushing up Shanghai silver prices while boosting performances of related stocks and funds, matching calls by global retail investors to boost prices of the precious metal. Retail traders on Reddit and other social media who caused a rally in share prices of the U.S. video game retailer Gamestop have now turned their attention to silver, leading Chinese investors to also jump on the bag. How can they make that claim? They've now turned their attention to silver? I do not believe that to be the case. And this is reported as of after midnight today, right? Like at 2 a.m. this morning. All right, and we're seeing people claiming that silver is rising. This really seems like something that's not entirely accurate, this reporting. And it really makes me wonder who owns these news sources. All right. Hey, Russ, the amount of new coiners on all the pump subreddits are shocked and furious about how the XRP dump earlier today. That kind of hysteria is exactly what whales and Wall Street thrives off of. Yeah, you're not wrong. Silver stocks are up 10 to 20%. Let's check in on an SLV again. Yeah, we're seeing a 10% from open. Is that right? Yeah. It seems like some people might be buying into that whole narrative, which may be true, but when things aren't valued on their fundamentals and are sort of a perception of what's been told to people on the media, things get a little bit sketchy, right? All right. We have buy and hold AMC and GME. Silver, a distraction from AMC. Time will tell. Yeah, but don't put more than you can afford to lose in AMC. Nobody has mentioned that billionaire Ryan Cohen is on the board of GME now, and he bought a ton of it at $4. Yeah. I wonder what that has to do with what's going on now, right? I think a lot of people started to buy into the company when that new when there were new people added to the management of GameStop, but certainly not to the extent of this sort of short squeeze price we're seeing around $300. Oh my goodness, we're down to almost 250. We're seeing a huge sell-off right now. Wow. That is wild. I wonder if AMC is following. Yeah, we're seeing. Okay, so this is interesting. We're seeing AMC and GME, two stocks that have sort of followed each other over time. We're seeing them sort of diverge on what's going on here. You can take a look at the shape of this versus the shape of this. We're seeing the same sort of little bump, but maybe AMC is trailing GME a little bit, because this just looks like this has continued downwards, where AMC might be on this this uptrend right now and then going down here. So it might be that it is taking its cues from GameStop and what's happening in that stock. And at the same time, we see silver up close to like the most of these three things we've been following. BlackBerry following a similar, except it went down quite a lot at market open. Nokia, okay, a little bit more measured. And back to GME. Oh, not GM. GME, okay, down to, oh my goodness, we're seeing the biggest sell-off we've seen. Oh, wow. Look at the volume of trades. 250. Who was it in the chat that said that this is dead at 250? We're going to find out. Okay, nobody. All right, the power of speculation. Literally a bunch of posts on Satoshi Street bets with people saying they can't buy Bitcoin stock. Also, if anyone's wondering, Kraken is now back open for sign-ins. EXPR is down 2. Are you sure this is even real data? Who owns Yahoo? No, I don't go quite that far, because I believe that this is the same. If we go to multiple different companies that are owned, I wouldn't. I tend to believe what these prices are telling us, but wow, we're seeing such a huge sell-off here, you guys. This is wild. And I hope that there's not, it's not to the point where people will be able to close their short positions, right? Because they shorted this down sub $10, right? Okay. Okay, so I want you guys to help me out here. If you're watching this stream and you've seen some other news articles that have come up and popped up, or any videos that you think are worth watching about what's going on right now, let me know and we'll keep an eye. Oh my goodness, down to 2. We're sub 240. KOS down. Breathe, Russell. Yeah, I'm doing fine. I'm not panicked by in any way, but it's just interesting to watch. It's interesting to watch, Mary. Thank you for your concern about me. All right. Well, I wonder if a lot of the new millionaires are selling off before the momentum shifts. Yeah, Steph, I wonder too, right? Because it makes you wonder, like, people are all for the Wall Street Bets movement of sort of sticking it to the suits, like, and the years and years and years that they had an informational and competitive advantage over the retail consumer. That's what I hope this was all about. But when it comes down to it, if you're somebody who invested a ton of money when shares were $14 and you've seen thousands of dollars of gains, how much does the movement mean to you? Do you know what I mean? It's when people are really tested. Right? And we've seen diamond hands hold forever because the squeeze is not squoze, as far as we know. But will people really do that? And we're seeing right now, oh my goodness, we're down 226. We're seeing it. This is incredible. People are scared. This is like we're reading into the emotion. It's like maybe people aren't as bought into the movement as we previously thought. We're just seeing a constant downtick. And even if people buy on the dip, I don't see this going back up anywhere near 300. All right. Some that are scared getting out, then there are some that will hold to the moon. The Yahoo data is literally the same as the friggin' TVRN. Oh, stop. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. No problem, Mary. If you need to go run and get a coffee or something, we can wait 5 minutes. Oh, I'm doing okay. I've only been on here for an hour and 45. I do have my water, though. And when I get my coffee, I've got my my nice tea time mug here. I always have a shortage of extremely large mugs, so a friend gave that to me for Christmas this year. I need as much coffee in one as I possibly can. Okay, we got a lot of comments coming in here in the chat. Let me know again where you're from and what your position is. Are you part of this? Are you bought into any of these stocks? Are you waiting for a time to play? We're seeing a historic drop. Oh my goodness, almost $110, $111 down from that previous high, which we saw here at 316. And this is all happening. This has just been 1 hour in. So we're going to see how this plays out. Oh my goodness. People are saying more than doing. Yeah, maybe people are just talking things up. Russ, can you maybe talk about the importance of how to take profit when speculating on stuff like this? You are seeing super reactionary movements here. Let's educate about stop losses and making plans. Yeah, that's something that you can do, right? If you have a stock portfolio, you can set limits, right? Depending on what brokerage you're with, there's limited functionality in some brokerages. But if you want your shares to automatically sell when the stock price hits a certain amount where you want to sort of pull out those gains, then you can do that, right? You can set that limit. However, that is what runs into these problems of seeing these increasing amounts of drops in a stock, right? Because if everybody has those limits set, then when it hits that limit, it will automatically sell, right? And we'll see the price continue to bottom out. And that's why we see such an emphasis on like momentum in these markets. If we see a big negative push, then you can see obviously a rundown like we're seeing here in GameStop. It's going to be interesting to see how this goes over the next little while here. But this is not what I was expecting. I was thinking that if there was more emphasis and more coverage from a media standpoint on this, that we would see an increase as people are like, yeah, I want to stick it to the man. I want to sort of stick it to the man. I just had flashbacks to School of Rock. And that was my favorite movie as a kid. Sorry to interrupt my train of thought, but man, oh man, did I watch that movie a lot as a kid. Anyways, I thought it was going to be a lot of people wanting to stick it to the man and sort of buy in after seeing all this media growth. But maybe people who weren't interested in this before just read the headlines, hopped into Wall Street Bets to figure out what was going on. But maybe they didn't open a brokerage account. Maybe they didn't actually go further with it. All right. Much respect and blessings. Thanks, Respecting Hip Hop. Thanks for hopping in here. Please do a beginner's guide for stock market. How can a beginner start investing? That's definitely something we can talk about here on the channel. I have an old guide that I made probably 4 or 5 months ago, but I've increased my video quality quite a lot since then. So if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, hang out here with us. We've got the Discord channel down there too, so you can click there to go into the community and hop in. I'm already seeing some new people hop in just as we've been having this chat. So feel free to do that. The trend is your friend. Yes, Mary. I'm in crypto and won't use the stock market after 2008 fiasco. No, I'm not Satoshi Nakamoto. What is Reddit saying about the drop? Okay, yeah, let's tune in here to Wall Street Bets and find out, right? I wonder if there's some panic going on here, because that's what the stock market is saying, panic, right? That's what is being pushed by that dip that we're seeing. GME discussion. That's where it's going to be. All right, let's let this load in. Guys, can I go and return my GME analog? Hold, I have 110. Lots of idiots getting these downvotes. Hold, AMC is a sexy stock. Bought, Alberta holding, deep discounts. Hold, everything's all right. I don't know if people who are maybe not as experienced with seeing this kind of volatility, I don't know if people are going to just hold, boys. Like, if you're somebody who's seen for the first time thousands of dollars in gains, I think people are going to want to sell and capitalize on that more than they want to stick it to the man. Because when it comes down to your life and your future, I think people are, like, I tend to think that people are good at heart, but I think people ultimately want to look out for themselves. And you can't really blame them, but I think that's the psychology that's going on right here. All right. It's roulette. Hold. Don't be scared, everyone. That's what they want. It will drop, but Friday should be interesting. But I will say this is tempting to sell my Bitcoin and buy into GME. They still never covered their 100% short. They lied because not all the 100% is available. It's closer to 75%. Yeah, I that's the question, right? Are people going to buy on this dip, right? We see, so it's a little bit more affordable right now for people to get in, because a lot of people can't buy these fractional shares that some can. All right, we've seen a little, it seems the bleeding has stopped a little bit. The bleeding has stopped a little bit here, unless this hasn't refreshed. Let's hop around a little bit and see what's going on. AMC is still up from pre-market, but down overall, you can see here. And let's see how much that follows the trend of GameStop. Down, a dip, and then a huge drop. So if we're right in thinking that AMC is being closely tied to GME, then we're going to see, and we'll have to keep an eye on this, we're going to see this drop quite significantly very soon, because right now we see the same pattern and then it dropping up, going up, and then if it follows GME, that's what we could expect to see. Let's see how much silver is having a play in this and see if money is going into silver. Not a huge amount. So I wonder how much that media impact actually has. Yeah, no problem. Go Natural, the all-in-one cosmetic. That's your name on YouTube. Yeah, I'm happy to do this. I was going to watch this anyways, so I figured why not hang out with you guys. I love talking to everybody here. All right. We've got a lot of comments here, but I will, so 3 to 4 days for cash clearing for purchase. Stop crying and hold. Maybe that's the case. Maybe people have to wait for this cash to be, like I know in Wealthsimple, oftentimes you're waiting 2 or 3 days to get in order to actually have money in your account to be able to buy. I like to use Wealthsimple, but yeah, there is that sort of there is that delay, right, as you're dropping it in. Bobby has 2,500 shares in GME. Wow, in AMC. Don't sell. Yeah, we're gonna have to see, Bobby. We're seeing, a little bit more of this drop like we're seeing, but we don't know what's going to happen long term. Let's see if the bleeding has stopped at all for GME. Oh, okay. We're seeing our first buyback. This is interesting. We've hit a bottom here and the bleeding has stopped. Okay. Huh. That's really interesting. Some gains here as people are buying in. Could this be a floor that's bounced off of? This is the question we have to ask. And it could, Bobby, you've been hanging out here in the chat, it could be a signal for AMC, right? This is what we've been talking about. It's going to do this all week. Wait till Friday. You think it's going to go to the moon Friday? I wonder why that is. It's halted for 5 minutes. Oh yeah. Oh, and we're seeing more gains here even still. Wow. Okay. Let's hop back into the forums here and see what is being said. Anything new? There's lots of people going in. Don't be scared of pre-market. Well, now things are open, so this is a different story now. Let's see the general daily discussion. All right. FOMO'd into BlackBerry at 22. Kind of hate you guys. Hold the line. With clown faces. Is that sentiment? Is that sentiment changing? There's the rise. That's what we were talking about and we just saw. It's all about the long game for the week. So maybe this market open isn't as impactful as we might think. It's good to see which news outlets associates Reddit with the silver squeeze. It revives who's actually involved in the scam. Now, I'm not going to comment on whether or not that's actually true, whether or not it is a concerted effort by the media to sort of change people's opinions, but it's going to be interesting to watch. Doesn't all the tricks and tactics all mean nothing when they're over 100% shorted? Like, isn't this literally just a waiting game now? Well, yeah, if people sell off and they get disinterested, then people are going to be able to close their short positions. But if they don't, then people are going to be stuck paying interest on all of this. And that's what is most harmful, right? If they can't cover their debt long enough, that could be a big problem because they need to close their position. All right, we got some comments here. Thanks for hopping in, everybody. We've got Bobby, we've got Dixie, we've got Denise, Mary C, Adnan. Dixie, if you have any questions about that, if you have any problems, then let me know. I'm always happy to talk about anything relating to Canadians and their money. Friday, when everyone's settled down, the Reddit pages are going to push. It's going to shoot through the roof because people are going to want to make a quick buck, whether it's for the weekend or the long term. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I wonder. Denise says, remember, there are also investors out there that are capable of buying more GME stock to get it back up. Only buy what you can afford to lose. That is the sentiment, right? Only buy what you can afford to lose. I think this is more about the statement and the social movement, right? Like if you were here long enough earlier in the stream, we were looking at charts that sort of show the how much of a gap there's become in Canada between people who are able to invest in assets and people who aren't, right? And how much this gap has increased over the course of the pandemic, especially in the amount of jobs available for different hourly wages. So I think it's really important that you only invest what you're able to invest, especially in these sort of more volatile stocks. But we need to, as a society, think more about equalizing that gap. I wonder what will happen, whether it's a concerted effort at educating people when it comes to finance, or if it's more of sort of policy changes as we see some more left-leaning policies come into place about distributing wealth. It's going to be interesting to watch, and it's something we're going to talk about on this channel. Here's a Canadian channel that you can check in on to find out anything about that. So if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. We're going to be talking about this sort of stuff, and we cover stuff on the benefits and the things that are available to Canadians to help them out over these coming weeks. All right, AMC, we're seeing more of a drop here. This could be, again, following that GME curve. So let's see if that actually was a floor or if it's continued bleeding. Okay. So it seems that this might have been a floor right here at the 213. It got down to 213. Wow. That is, that's $100 difference from that 316 point. Okay, GME is not a viable business. It's just us versus them. That, like, I don't think any of these stocks that are part of these meme stocks and part of this Wall Street Bets, I don't think anybody is saying even that any of them are worth these actual valuations. It's more of a play against the short squeeze, right? Adnan's already subscribed. Thanks for hopping in. Russ, any tech ETFs that are a bit more stable you're watching? Now, when you come into tech and stability, those can sometimes be an oxymoron because that landscape is constantly changing. I'm not invested in it, but I've been taking a closer look at the ARK ETFs and how they're very future focused and how well they've performed over the past year. Now, no telling if they're going to do the same thing again, but that's something you can look into and make your own decisions about. I kind of have bought, like, a portion of my portfolio is in ETFs and sort of market tracking indexes, but I also have I kind of think about it like two baskets, right? I have a wealth preserving basket where I have more safe bets, and then I do, because I'm so young, have this section of my investments that's in more risky assets to try to be a little bit more aggressive, right? So if you look at it that way, then it's okay to have a little bit of a more aggressive portfolio, maybe some individual companies rather than indexes, but then also have a portion that's sort of safe and is ready for your retirement or just making sure that you're stable for the rest of your life, right? All right. The stock market is going to change as a whole if the real estate market doesn't dip. If there isn't going to be an abundance of new home buyers due to prices, they'll start dumping money into the markets. That's an interesting take, like how the real estate markets will affect people choosing to get into the stock market, right? If we see the average home being even more so than it already is, so out of reach for the average retail investor, then we could see people sort of getting into the stock market because there's actually a way in, right? Now, personally, when you're starting off, I think real estate investing is the way to go because you can increase your wealth so quickly and you have control over your asset, right? We don't have control over these companies we invest in, but if we buy a property that cash flows and that meets these certain fundamentals of real estate investing, then we are the ones responsible for renovations, for management, and we have a lot more control over assets like that than we do the stock market. So I like to talk about how those two things relate. All right. Too many people are stuck at home for one reason or another, hence the momentum in new investors in the stock markets. Yeah, absolutely. If you're interested in that, there was an interview that the Wealthsimple CEO just did, and I did a video of it on my channel, I think 2 days ago, talking about whether or not they'd be closing down the ability to buy these volatile shares, just like Robinhood did. And what's interesting to me is that he was saying that since the beginning of the pandemic, just they've seen such an influx of new users. Everybody's at home, and some people might actually have a little bit of extra money, as we've seen from the benefits that have been put out. And because they haven't been so targeted at the people who absolutely need them, some people have received benefits and had more money to sort of stash away and potentially invest. So that could have also contributed to this. So it's really looking now like this was a floor. This was a floor that is being bounced off of. Now, the question is this going to continue to drop? Now we're seeing a little bit of a peak here. That's what we're going to have to look out for. We've got Denise in here saying they noticed trades of stocks and shorts before the everyday average person knew about a pandemic. So big hedge funds bought stock really cheap, made trillions, while the rest were struggling to keep things open. Yeah, this is the root of that's a good point, Denise. It's the root of this whole movement, right? It's not fair in many people's eyes that these big market makers are the ones who are able to profit off of negative things happening to the rest of the world. And so that's where the hypocrisy comes in, when these big firms and all these people with huge amounts of capital, now they're bleeding a little bit and can't handle it, right? So what's the difference of the retail investor sort of taking advantage of a bad decision from these institutional investors versus the same thing that they did, say, at the beginning of the pandemic, when they were able to make these plays, sort of betting on the market to crash and all the jobs to be lost along with that. People make money on other people's misfortune most of the time, right? It's great to see everybody in here. Drop a comment, and if you haven't already done so, let me know where you're from. I love to see where everybody's from. We have a lot of people from Ontario in here. Let me know if you're not from Canada and you're tuning into this stream. We're sort of putting a little bit of a Canadian perspective on it, with how the stock market is affecting airlines, all the changes that have been happening, how Canadian benefits are impacting investments, and how this is all happening. Let me know where you're from. Oh, here's an interesting question. Urbanized Dream says, so question, is this beneficial to GameStop? Like, since all the money is coming in to their company, are they able to use it? So confused on how stocks work. So to the best of my understanding, by the share prices going up, they do not instantly have a lot of cash. But what they can do is they can issue more shares, right? If they issue more shares, then that cash actually can come back in to be able to be used to sort of build the company over time. Another thing that I believe that they can do is they can access more credit based on the valuation of their company via the stock market, right? So by this higher valuation, maybe people will deem that they're able to borrow more money that can help them grow as a company in the future. That's a great question, Urbanized Dream. I think that's how mostly it works. Okay, now that the delay is over, we got people from Waterloo, Manas, Adnan's from Montreal, Ontario, with Urbanized Dreams. Toronto, Montreal, Whitby, hey, hometown kid right here. Elvis, I'm also in Whitby. bought AMC, come from the land down under. Do we have some more Australia in here? Interesting. Ontario, ultra rich need to take a hit. That's definitely the sentiment these days. All right, let's do some checking in on some of these other stocks. All right, so we see silver trending down. It's not, I really don't think that a lot of people are buying into the silver hype that a lot of media and some potentially fake posts on Reddit have been pushing for. Let's check in on an AMC here and see if they followed the same trend. Yeah, so, okay. So this is something that we can see now, right? For the most of the time, this has been really, really tracking the what's happening with GME, right? Like make note of the shape that we're seeing right here. And now when we go to GME, see how it's sort of just like a more advanced, further advanced version of it, right? It goes down, dips, goes down, comes up a little bit, and now it's starting to trend down a bit. If that remains to be the case for AMC, then we'll see this trend up a bit and then start to trend down. It seems like those are really, really following. Let's check in on some other shares that a lot of people are interested in. Okay, so we're seeing Tesla rally on the day to 2.8% up. Nice. We saw that huge sell-off last week. My hypothesis was that because of all these positions that people had short of GameStop, they needed to sell some other things to close their short positions. And I think that's why we saw a lot of stocks go down. Now, I'm not sure, but that's something interesting to keep an eye on. All right, we got more from Toronto, from Winnipeg. I love it. What do you think of the silver situation? Yeah, so we've been talking about that, and we're currently wondering, is the silver situation really as big of a deal as it's being made out to be, right? Okay, let's go back to 1 day here so we can see the micros of this. How about the short sellers stop destroying people and pensions? Yeah. I mean, that's a fair statement. Why don't they? SLV volume is already double its 10-day average. So there's been a lot more activity in trades. Is that what you're getting at, Jonathan? If there's pressure from Wall Street, GME, or AMC, could the stock split? Now, I don't think that either of these stocks could split. Because that would definitely be something that is planned by the corporation itself. And I think that they're likely too unstable right now to actually plan for something like that to happen. Aaron Tacheri is saying, look at the 1M on BB. What exactly are you referring to there? Are you able to answer a quick question about the CRB benefit? Yeah, drop a question. We're talking about anything in here as we watch what's going on. Vancouver, Southwestern Ontario. That's Sandra and username from Vancouver. I love seeing that billionaire cry. Oh man, that was there's so many clips. There's so many clips of things that I never thought we'd see. This is such an unprecedented situation. But we're not seeing a huge rise like many people thought. We're seeing it sort of stabilize back down. Now, it depends on how these positions are handled, the people who have short positions, right? Are they going to try to take advantage of this to sell off, or are they going to wait for more bleeding? Because there's still an opportunity for people to hold and to hurt those big large institutional investors. Oh, okay, the 1 month chart on BlackBerry. Yeah, okay, let's take a look at BlackBerry, sure. Wow, that is quite a volatile stock over this past little while. We've seen a huge shoot up and drop back down to 13, and today it's dropped a little bit as well. Yeah, this was another one of the stocks pushed by Reddit. Another Canadian company, I believe, right? BlackBerry used to be a huge player. Yeah. As we watch this, I'm going to hop back to the 1 day. Okay, and more of a drop here, but not down to the lows of before. So who knows what's going to happen here? Wow. Okay, BlackBerry long term. Let's just say it was the biggest casino, and they didn't want the average person in their game, I guess. So they're asking the same questions. Yeah, that might be the case, Denise. Your beard is getting itchy. Beard oil, man, it helps so much. I go like this when I'm thinking and stuff. What I really like, if you want some beard tips here, I use typical hair conditioner on it and I'll leave it in there for a little while, and I think it's really helpful. so much softer and so much less scratchy. Shane's in here saying, I never thought I would see so many memes about the stock market and hedge funds, right? I mean, it's everywhere, right? All over Reddit, all of these memes. And so I would have expected to see memes about stocks, but I would not have expected to see the sort of memification of the actual financial markets, right? This is something that we haven't seen before. And it's something we could see again in the future, and something these big, hedge funds are going to have to look out for and sort of price in to their strategies, that there is this risk that people are going, like the whole thing that happened was people realized that there were naked shorts and they were shorting it over the full amount of the GME stock. So essentially, if people put the pedal to the metal, they can squeeze the stock and shoot up the prices. People are forced out of their positions. Now think back to like 15 years ago, 20 years ago, before the internet was accessible in the way that it is now. There wasn't a community that could sort of rally around this information because the information would not be available to them. So before all this, these big institutional investors were able to actually hop in and do this sort of, like, let's face it, a little bit manipulative maneuvers and get away with it because nobody knew what was going on. You had to go through a broker to get information. You need to go through a broker to place a trade. How would you find out even any information about how many short positions there are on a stock, right? It just wasn't accessible in the past. And this is a change on the way money is going to be managed heading into the future. It's so interesting to talk about. All right. Aaron says they're actually huge into security now. They're legitimately viable. Okay, so that's talking about BlackBerry more. Yeah, I need to do some more looking into what BlackBerry's plan is moving forward, because they had such an opportunity to be such a huge player, and then Apple sort of came along with the iPhone and sort of undercut them, or rather provided a better product. So it's going to be interesting to watch what they do in the future and how they pivot. What's going on with Naked? Let's take a look at that. That's a stock I'm not as familiar with, but it's down off the close. This is something that's a quite cheap stock, and I think is attractive to people because they can get in a large position. And it's down 14% today, down 23 cents. This isn't following AMC as closely, following GME as closely. It's just sort of shooting down here. Excuse me. All right, so we still haven't gone past this floor, but we're sort of hovering here on a more stable and slower dip. All right, we got more people in the chat. Thanks for hopping in, everybody. If you haven't already, feel free to subscribe. We're talking about anything related to Canadian news, Canadian finance, anything especially related to your money. I like to cover all of that. When the government releases new budgets, we talk about what sort of benefits are included in that and what it could mean for you. So if you appreciate the Canadian content, feel free to like and subscribe, and feel free to share it with somebody who you think might also be interested in it. I think there's a real shortage of Canadian content out there when it comes to this sort of stuff. We see all of this in the States, but I'm hoping to do a similar sort of thing here in Canada. So if you're into that, feel free to stay tuned to the channel. All right, Beard Gang, I like it. Yeah. Oh man. See, the problem is I think mustaches are coming back into style, but I've got the most blonde mustache that you've ever seen on the planet. I really got this weird hair color, right? I've got like the sort of red and slightly balding hair up here. And then my eyebrows are just so white, and my mustache is so white, and then I've got the red beard. So I unfortunately can't be part of the mustache gang, and that was always a problem every Movember for me as I was participating in that. All right. Living Our Destiny says you should take a look at Louis Rossman's. Yeah, I've actually been watching that as he's been posting. He posted a really good summary on everything that's been happening. About a 30-minute video, and he's really been covering this quite well. Yeah. All right. So we've got, oh, you're Canadian. Damn, LOL. Hey, JJ Bud, feel free to stay tuned and hang out with us Canadians. It's maybe a little bit more low-key than some of the other streams, but I like that. All right. For the CRB benefit, if I make over my 50% reduction for week 1 but not week 2, can I still apply for the period? So the way that the 50% is calculated, just to answer this quick CRB question, the way that 50% is calculated is on the average of the 2 weeks for the period that you're applying for. And you find your 50% based on your previous year's income. So that's how you determine what that number is. And then you sort of add all of that up together for your week 1 and 2, and then average it out. So if you make a bunch of money one week, no money the next, you're probably pretty close to that 50%. I hope that answers your question. Oh my goodness, Jonathan, Randall, thank you so much for the super chat. Hey everybody, let's all buy Russell a beer for all he does for us. Oh my goodness. I'll tell you, Jonathan, that is the first super chat I've ever got on a live stream. So thank you for that. That's so sweet of you to do. That's so nice. I just like hopping in here and talking to everybody and seeing what's going on, and just providing a little bit of Canadian content for you. Thank you, Jonathan. You'll be up here in my memory for one of the first people to do a super chat on one of these live streams. You're the man. All right. Let's check into what's going on here and see if AMC has followed this curve. So everyone take a look right here at the shape we're seeing right here, and we're going to see right now if AMC is going to keep following that, and if they have actually seen this pop back up and the dip with a little bit of a groove there. Oh, okay, so this is a little bit of a different. Oh my goodness, that's why it's not the stock I'm talking about. All right, yeah. So it seems like it's following a similar trajectory, but maybe slightly less pronounced in the amount that it dips. Now that could be due to the fact that it's a smaller cap stock, right? We're seeing this not go as drastically as GME. And let's see if silver's taken hold at all. Okay, similar downturn. That's very similar to AMC. I wonder if that is tracking as well with everyone who's following this from a Wall Street Bets Reddit perspective. Oh my goodness, Aaron, that's so nice of you too. Thank you so much. She says $5 for a beer for you. Oh my goodness, you guys, you didn't have to do all of this. Oh, thank you. I will definitely have a beer in your honor. Oh man, that's so nice of you to do. Nobody has to do that at all. I just love being on here, providing some value for you guys. So thanks for tuning in and hanging out. That's so nice of you guys. Okay. John, I busted your cherry. That's one way to put it. That's funny. Good question. Russell's a good. Oh my god, a kick in you guys are so sweet. I will definitely have some coffee for you later. Okay, I wonder what your coffee order is. For me, I am a huge fan of, at Timmy's, we're talking a dark roast regular. That's my go-to. I'll have that if I'm in the car and I'm going somewhere and I want to drink it right away, right? Because the cream will take down the heat a little bit and I can drink the coffee immediately. Now, if I'm at home, I drink black coffee all day long, every single day. But that's my coffee order. Yeah, Tim's, it's a dark roast regular, and at home, just completely black. All right. Increased child tax benefit. Have an overpriced. I can go to Starbucks with this. Oh, you guys are so sweet. You guys are so sweet. I appreciate it, you guys. Thank you. You really don't have to do that. If you guys are in a position to, you're free to. But I know not everybody is in a position to be able to gift something like that. But I appreciate it, you guys. And definitely no pressure for anybody to do anything like that. Okay, this is heartwarming. Russell deserves all the kindness for being such a help. Oh, that you guys are so sweet. I love you guys. This is so nice to hang out with everybody and see what's going on here, and hopefully we can get a community sort of around people who are interested in this sort of thing in Canada, right? And I'll remind you, we've got the Discord channel. If you want to, I'm not going to be able to keep this stream going on all day, but if you want to keep the conversation going, I'm always replying to people inside of the Discord channel, and you can check that out down there in the description. There's some information there. Oh, Adnan, that's so nice of you. You guys are, I didn't expect anything like this. I thought I was just going to hang out and watch this, but seeing 100 people consistently hanging out in here, I love it. And it shows that people are actually interested in learning and talking about this sort of stuff on a Canadian basis, right? There's not much of a representation out there that is so heavily focused on Canada. So I hope that this is sort of a sign that you guys are appreciating it and are into building this sort of community around it. Oh, Aaron, thank you. That's so nice of you guys. Oh, man. Oh, and Adnan, just for fun. You guys are the best. Did you grow up in Whitby? Where'd you go to high school? Hey, Chastity. So, yeah, I did grow up in... Okay, I'm going to answer your question, but just for people who are curious, let's hop up and have this be rolling. Okay, we've seen a stabilization here, sticking around 235. This is interesting. This is definitely not what I expected when it comes to what was happening. I thought we'd see a spike at the start from people trying to buy into the movement, and then we'd see people selling off, right? We'd see people trying to sort of capitalize on the gains that they've made and trying to get out because maybe they're not bought into the movement or they're more here for a quick buck. And then I thought it would slowly sort of tick back up as more people wake up and invest because they're passionate about sort of sticking it to the people who have sort of had the information for all of these years, and now we have the information. But what we're seeing here is actually a dip, and it's sort of stabilizing lower. So maybe I'm just looking at it too zoomed in right now. Maybe at the end of the day, we'll see sort of the trend that I was talking about, but we'll have to keep monitoring that. Yeah, so Chastity, I did grow up in Whitby. I grew up in a town just north of Whitby. I was born and raised in Brooklyn, Ontario. Yeah, super small town just north of Whitby. And I went to school in Oshawa, actually, for a performing arts program. So my home school would have been Donald A. Wilson or Sinclair or something like that. But yeah, I'm a Whitby boy. I lived in Toronto for 6 or so years as I was going to school and met so many people there, and I still have so many ties to the city. But when it came time for me to buy my house, I thought, I'm going to go back here. I love it here. So I bought this place, and I run an Airbnb in the basement also to help out. That's a house hacking, man. If you don't know about that, look into it. It can change your life. But okay, so yeah, everybody's been so nice with the super chats. So nice. Single port robotics surgical equipment. Oh, is that a stock I should look into? LMAO. Richmond Hill. Oh, nice. Okay. I'm in Richmond Hill pretty often. It's the verb money for me. When will we get the increased child tax benefit? So, John, I believe you're referring to the plan that was put into place by the Liberal government, the government of Canada right now, in their most recent fall economic update. So they were planning on increasing the child tax benefit. Now, I'm not sure if this has actually gone through or not yet, because of course, when they release this economic update, it's just a plan of what they're going to do, right? It's not something that says it's happened right now. It's already gone on. It's done with, but so we're going to have to wait and see. I'm not sure if it's actually been put through in the House of Commons, but the House of Commons has actually just started up again. They just finished their first week, and they're going to keep on going here. So when it comes to policy and changes to that, that's where we need to keep our eyes peeled. All right, we're seeing a little bit of a bounce back. So we sort of bounced off of this floor here. It peaked again and came back down. So we're going to see if this rise keeps on continuing. But overall, we're down 25% on the day, which is interesting. All right. We got more people in here. When will we get the increase? Yeah, that's since you're into crypto, what do you think of holding your coin at BlockFi to earn interest while it sits there? I'm earning 6% on my Bitcoin. I think it's not bad, right? It really depends on what the point of you holding Bitcoin is in your eyes, right? Some people will be just happy holding Bitcoin in their Wealthsimple account where they don't actually have access to the Bitcoin to use transactionally. It's just held as an investment. If you're just investing in it, that's what a lot of people are doing. But, and it's also far quicker. You don't have as many steps to walk through, but I think that could be a good idea. I'm trying to see here. Yeah, living our destiny. It could be a good idea if you're somebody who wants to be transactional with their Bitcoin someday, and wants to hold it and earn interest on their Bitcoin and are okay with doing a few more steps to get that account set up. Then why not earn interest, right? While you're holding it. Yeah, good idea. Shane, thank you so much for the kind words. You're the man. You're such a nice dude. Shane's one of my buddies in real life, and you just cannot meet a nicer dude who's more friendly and better to hang out with. So thanks for tuning in here, Shane. Peter says, Russ is correct. Number 1, basket of savings and investment, and play, speculate. Number 2. Yes, I'll emphasize this again. When it comes to investing, that's my philosophy. I do not want to, at any point, be put into the position where I could be wiped out, right? You never want to be so risky that if you were to lose the vast majority of your investments, that you wouldn't be able to manage. You wouldn't be able to keep the roof above your head, right? That's why I say even before you start investing, you should not be thinking about investing until you, 1, have an emergency fund set up so that you have about 3 to 6, depending on your risk tolerance, months of living expenses built up in case you lose your job, right? Like, I don't want to be so slim on my money that something can happen and I could be wiped out, right? The power of investing is the compound interest, right? If you make money over time and then that money makes money and so on and so forth, as long as you're able to stay in for the long term, you're going to do okay. That's the way I look at it. And as long as you can ride those ups and downs, then you're going to be set because of the growth and interest over time, over years and years and decades even. So yeah, Peter's point was, yeah, let's set up this fun play money, which is a lot of what people are doing with GameStop and with AMC and what we're talking about here today as we watch what's happening as these markets open. But at the same time, we need to have this more conservative basket, whether that be an investment in real estate, which I personally have pretty bullish or positive outlooks for the long term with real estate, whether it be a real estate holding or maybe a more conservative stock market holdings, like maybe an index or some sort of fund that has maybe some bonds in it, like if you want to be very, very low risk. But just making sure that you have that ability to weather any storm is really important. Sorry, that's a huge aside on my part, but that's what I'm interested in talking about all the time. All right. So, third basket for Kleenex. like a waste basket. That's funny. Prices have went up so much on goods. A 2x4, yeah, it was $250 2 years ago. Now it's $6. Yeah, I'm gonna get back to that. Let's take a look at what's happening here. All right, so let's see if AMC has followed this sort of double dip. Very similar. A little bit more pronounced here than I would have expected. And let's see if people are buying into the silver narrative. A little bit of a rally here, but this could just be traditional market activity. I really don't think the media coverage of silver has done a whole lot on the Wall Street bet side of things. It's interesting to watch nonetheless, though. Okay, let's leave this back on GameStop because I want to talk a little bit about what you were saying there with the price of construction. Yeah, the price of construction has gone up so much. A 2x4 was $250 2 years ago. This is John Doe, and now it's $6. Yeah, the cost of construction has gone up so much, and that's only going to increase real estate prices even more. Of course, you guys already know that I'm a realtor in the Greater Toronto area. So this is an area that I actually have some more expertise in than watching the stock market. But it's going to be interesting to see how that also impacts real estate prices going forward. The impact on this increased construction cost is going to be more expensive to create basement units right? Like, we're seeing a lot of emphasis on the creation of more units in a smaller amount of space, right? Like an urban density approach with a lot of governments. But that's going to be pretty expensive to do for a lot of people with this increased cost of building. So that's something that I'm watching, and I'm wondering if there's going to be any sort of government help to be able to provide housing, such as a basement unit or other things that investors can do to provide more rental units. I'm wondering if that's something that the government might subsidize. But of course, there's going to be pushback on that, right? Because people say, hey, why are you subsidizing these landlords that already have so much money? So you can never really win as the government, right? All right. Okay. But then again, I know, right, Marianne? Okay. invest only what you can afford to lose, Denise. I agree. But then again, here in Canada, $15 an hour, minimum work 40 hours, then taxes and try to pay rent, pay bills, buy healthy food. Yeah, take care of your health. Impossible. That's what I'm talking about. This gap. If you're making minimum wage, it's tough right now. And what's even tougher is if you can't even get into the minimum wage market, right? We've seen that chart. Maybe I'll bring it up again, but it was showing just how we've lost jobs in lower income areas and we've added jobs in higher income areas. That's what we've seen. So it's getting even trickier out there, and there's such a gap. All right. And thanks you guys for tuning in. If you haven't already, feel free to like this video. It'll send out this stream to more and more people who can tune in and hang out with us here. All right. I'm from the US originally. The taxes aren't that much higher than here, and people forego healthcare completely. I would much rather live in Canada. Let's abject poverty overall. Yeah, there definitely is more support here for people so that they don't fall through this safety net that we have in Canada. I definitely feel fortunate to live here. I'm a passionate Canadian. I was showing people earlier on the stream, but I love this thing. This was my present to myself this year. It's a Lord of the Rings style map of Canada, and I am in love with it. So I like to show it off whenever people talk about Canada. But I'm proud to be Canadian. There's a lot of problems we got to take care of, but I'm proud, you know? All right. In Canada, if you have Lyme, you lose your home and savings because the tests are crap. Yeah, maybe. Should I invest in Home Depot? I paid $30 for a paintbrush. Well, if you maybe do a little bit more digging into their individual company, but if you have faith in it. All right. Well, you know what? To put it onto that topic, I want to show you guys an interview. I'm going to take a little break here to make a coffee and go to the washroom. But for you guys to watch while I'm taking a break here, it's an interview that I thought was really, really interesting. And I talked about it in one of my videos recently. Let me see here. Benjamin Tal. Not this. Where are you? And I'm so sorry. All right. Benjamin Tal. This is a Bloomberg interview where he talks about this gap that we're seeing being increased. Yeah, right here. Okay, so this is what I'm going to put on for you guys to enjoy. Feel free to stick around. Grab a coffee yourself if you're tuning in and wanna be a part of it here. But let me put this on for you guys. I think it's pretty interesting.
Wages of many low-income workers in Canada. Now,
right,
CIBC has data
right
that show that while we did know that there was a disproportionate hit to low-income workers in this pandemic, their numbers show that, in fact, while that was going on, wealthier Canadians saw their incomes rise. Benjamin Tal, Deputy Chief Economist at CIBC, with us now. Benjamin, this is shocking data in the sense that we thought, okay, because it's this K-shaped, the folks at the lower end in the service industry, hospitality industries, their jobs have gone away. Whatever wages they're getting, they're going to be lower. Your numbers actually show that there's something else going on here that's important from a policy point of view.
Yes, that's fascinating. As you can see in this chart, the left side of the chart was well known. We knew that we lost a lot of jobs in low-wage sectors. We knew that. In fact, we said all the jobs lost were in low-wage sectors. However, we assumed that high-paying jobs were basically flat. And you know what? They are not flat. They are up by 300,000 positions since the beginning of the year, which means that the income gap is much worse than we thought, because not only are we seeing the number of jobs in low-paying sectors going down, but also we see a significant increase in the number of well-paying jobs. That's actually a very interesting situation that we are seeing.
So what does that imply? I mean, we know that there have been supports put in place for those who've lost their jobs altogether, the wage subsidies, other forms of support. What does it imply, though, Benjamin, that we now know that folks who were making a lot before are, in fact, are making more now? What does that mean from a policy point of view, in your view?
Yes, it's very interesting because, you know, we have been talking about the situation in which the government has been injecting so much money into the system. So income, for the first time ever, went up in a recession at a record speed. And the question is why? Maybe the government is wasting resources. Maybe yes. But this data suggests that actually most of the decline in the low-wage sectors in terms of income is really not as bad as it could have been, because you see a situation in which high wage are higher. So the headline number is masking how bad it was in the low end of the wage curve. And that's something that we have to take into account, which means that maybe government money was more targeted, because if you remove those high wage jobs from the system, you see a situation in which income among low income Canadians could have gone down dramatically, and that's where you need money, you need the support. So maybe it was more targeted than perceived.
And does it suggest that there is a little capacity on the revenue side for governments that want to raise taxes? The folks whose incomes went up. Now, presumably, there's an automatic, right? There's an automatic increase in taxes when incomes go up. But is there room there to go even further?
Yes, it's not just income going up because of new jobs. Simply, we see more jobs being created in the high end of the wage scale, and that's very interesting. Yes, absolutely, and I think that would be very tempting. We were talking about this cash sitting on the sideline. We were talking about the pent-up demand. We know where the money is, and we know that there is more money where the money is than we thought, because of this huge increase in good, well-paying jobs in technology, in finance, in even health, even e-commerce, in management. So clearly we have seen something that we haven't seen in any other recession. In 2008, all jobs, high-paying, low-paying, went down. Here you see a very, very significant asymmetrical picture, and you're absolutely right. That would be very tempting for governments to actually look at the taxation down the road when we are safely far away from the crisis to raise taxes, and I think they will.
It's also helpful for governments to get a clearer picture, as this data will provide, of where the pain is, of where they can target their support, maybe even further. Does it suggest that maybe we need to even look more closely at very specific sectors and wage components of the economy?
Yes, we have been discussing it for a while now, and I really believe that that's the case. The next stage of government support must be extremely targeted. This data suggests that maybe we haven't been wasting resources the way we thought so, because it was masked by the increase in high-paying jobs. At the same time, we still know that a lot of money is being utilized not in a very efficient way. This stage, the next stage of help over the next 6 months, must be extremely targeted. We simply cannot continue to spend money at this rate.
You know, I want to throw another subject at you because it's come up. It is in some ways unsurprising, but to hear that an incoming administration will be anti-Keystone Pipeline, but that it may actually be out of the gate one of the first things that President Biden wants to achieve. We're hearing, Benjamin, that that'll set a sour tone between the two countries. How meaningful do you think it is? I mean, obviously, for the backers of Keystone directly, it's meaningful, but more broadly for our economy, for the relationship, do you worry when you hear this?
How's it going, you guys?
It's not a big
Just
surprise.
been hanging out watching the video. Thank you for sticking around, you guys. What did you think of that interview? I know we didn't watch the whole thing, but I think it's pretty interesting. I think it is pretty interesting how that gap is growing in Canada, and I wonder what's going to be done about it. It is so interesting. Okay. Oh, wow. We're seeing a big rally here. Wow. You can't tune out for just a second. Okay, we're seeing some big growth here. Stabilizing. Maybe this is okay. So right now it's 11 o'clock. So interesting. Maybe people are waking up on the West Coast and are trying to buy in now on this dip. It seems like it's not doing the drop that we thought it would do at 750. Thank you guys for sticking around and chatting with each other. I hope you're enjoying your time here on the stream. I've got my coffee. Hope you guys have something warm to sip on too. It's a little bit cold outside today. So good. Gotta love a black coffee in the late morning. Okay, let's see what people are chatting about. Yeah, Denise is saying, don't invest more than you can lose. The middle class going poor and the poor forgotten. That's a lot about this interview, right? That's what the worry is, that's going to be the case. And if you haven't read this book already, or I'll actually listen to it on Audible. I really recommend it. It's called 21 Questions for the 21st Century, I believe, by Noah Yuval Harari. And he has a lot of sort of insight on what he thinks what's going to happen moving forward in terms of different classes of people and how that could be affected by the way tech comes in and affects the world. I'll show you what I'm talking about. 21 questions for the... Yeah, this book is fantastic. I listen to it because sometimes when I'm driving around for work or I'm in the shower or something like that, I like to listen to it. But if you haven't checked out this book, I really recommend it. Yeah, it's a good one. It is a good one. Okay, let's pop back here and check out and see if this rally is something that we're actually going to see continuing. We're seeing the first little dip after this rally right now, going back down to 250. All right. Thanks for tuning in, you guys. We've had some great conversation here over the past little while about what's going on here. Let's take a look in at Bloomberg and see if there's any new updates on what they're covering for this. Okay. So here we're seeing more headlines on silver. This is something we talked about a little bit earlier about whether or not this is actually a media effort to get people to sort of move into silver, or whether that's actually something that's warranted. Because as you'll remember, when we get in here to taking a look at this silver index, we haven't seen a huge boost like people have been predicting, right? That is interesting. Let's get in here on Wall Street Bets and see if there's been any new major posts, anything about people panicking right now that it's down to 250 from its highs of 317, I believe it was. Okay. Zahir saying, where can we get GME in Canada? I really like to use Wealthsimple to buy my stocks when I do. There's a link in the description that you can go there and get 10 free bucks if you sign up, and I'll get a little bit of change too, but you don't have to use that. I like it because it's so simple, but you can also use Questrade, or most big banks will have brokerage abilities as well. Like for a long time before Wealthsimple's around, I used CIBC's Investor Edge back when I was 18, started investing. So that's what I recommend for you there, Zahir. All right. Okay. Can you watch AMC? Yes, we can watch AMC, Josiah. Let's take a look at that and how it tracks to GME. I know there's a lot of people even here in the chat that have a position in AMC, so it's good to keep an eye on. So we're seeing it stabilize out. We didn't see quite the run back up that we did from GME, but we have seen that it has been tracking relatively closely to what's going on with GME. Okay, we've got more comments in here. Thanks, Peter. Who predicted a boost? It did what it was supposed to, drop a little, then level off. Yeah, maybe. This may be the start of the government owing us, or rather an extension of that. Maybe. What's your opinion on investing in Air Canada? Yeah, so that's a good question. Obviously, the pandemic has hit them hard, and there hasn't been a lot of support from the government to keep them afloat. And there's been calls, at least in the media, that airlines may not ever recover from this. So there is inherent risk there. That being said, if you personally have faith in the company and you think that it's likely that maybe they'll receive some extra government funding to get them through the hump of the pandemic, then it could be a decent play, right? If you think that there's prospects for that to boost back up. But whether or not that's actually going to happen it remains to be seen. I sort of put my tinfoil hat on a little bit earlier and was talking about how today I believe marks the first day that all of the major Canadian airlines have shut down flights to Caribbean and Mexican vacation destinations. Now, this is something that the airlines were pushing really hard. They were trying to sell these vacation packages just a few months ago, right? They were really advertising this. So the government sort of came out and announced announced together with them that this was happening. So I wonder if there may have been some sort of deal made that they will get extra funding to help them through the pandemic if they agree to limit these flights. Now, how much good that's going to do, I don't know, because it seems that there's other Canadian, there are other non-Canadian airlines that are still doing these flights out of Canada. So if people want to leave the country, they still can. There's no real strict border measures. But that's where things are at right now. In terms of investing in Air Canada, it's something that I'm going to keep my eye on. But it's something I don't have a position in right now. All right, we've got more comments here. Where the link, AC is a watch. What do you think about mining Bitcoin with ASIC miners? I don't know a whole lot about mining Bitcoin. I know that it has a large, I don't know if the payoff is there unless you can do it at scale, right? Like in a huge quantity, because of the electricity that you're going to have to pay to support the machines that do the mining and the computing in order to create the Bitcoins, or like solve the problems which allow you to get that certain allotment, right? I wonder if it's worth it to buy that kind of high-end tech in order to mine maybe only a small portion. It's interesting, though. Danny, I think Danny's asking, which dividend stock should I buy? That's a personal question. I'm not going to give you any advice. I'm not a financial advisor as to what to buy. But I'll tell you a story, though. When I first started investing, it was because my grandfather was really into it. He was retired and didn't have the most mobility, so he would sit on his computer in his basement and sort of watch his investments and watch things grow. And not a lot of people in my family were all that interested in it, but I kind of started getting interested in it at a young age. So he took me down there and he sat me down and he showed me that his whole investment strategy was to buy blue chip dividend stocks. Right? The beauty of a dividend stock is it doesn't necessarily matter all that much in the short term how much things go up and down, because they're actually going to pay you each and every quarter to keep holding that stock. And that's what he loved about it. It's like I know a lot about buying real estate. It's like you're buying a bunch of little tiny rental properties, and the dividends that are sent to you is like your cash flow or the rent that's being paid to you. So it really is, it's an income producing asset at that point for dividends. But he said, invest in blue chip stocks like, and maybe things that have a monopoly in Canada, like Rogers and Bell and some of these stocks, right? That's what he told me. Now I've sort of grown on that strategy and had my own thoughts about things, and you should do your own research on this sort of stuff. But I really thought that was a helpful way of looking at it, and why dividend investing can be a big deal for a lot of people, because you actually can see the growth because they're actually paying you every quarter. Again, you'd want to do that in a TFSA, self-directed investment account here in Canada. That's the best way to not have to pay tax on that. All right. Yeah. Peter, thanks for tuning in, buddy. Thanks for tuning in and hanging out with us. And that's awesome. So I've been waiting for Wealthsimple to clear my deposit. It's been 5 days now and nothing. Yeah, that is one complaint I do have with Wealthsimple, is that the amount of waiting for you to get your money into your account is a little difficult. I'm not sure if there was a wire transfer option that you might be able to set up some way with Wealthsimple so you can get it in a day or so, just overnight. But as of right now, if you're doing it like via the way that they currently link your accounts, then you could wait for quite a while to have that actually cleared in order to trade. Yeah, that's an interesting thing with Wealthsimple. Not all brokerages have quite that long of a waiting period. All right, so wow, we're seeing even more growth here, back up to 270. It hasn't been at 270 since before 10 a.m. Okay, since around 10 a.m. was when it dipped below, and now we're finally seeing it hop up. So it's true that like we thought that this might have been a floor when we saw this initial candlestick go up. We're gonna have to keep watching and seeing what's happening. Again, let me know, you guys, if there's anything that you come across. Like, I know you're on your computer or on your phone right now watching the stream, and thanks so much for tuning in. If you see any interesting news articles or any videos that you want me to check out, feel free to drop it in the chat or drop it in the Discord server that we have. You can find the link to join our community there in the description, and we'll take a look at it here, and we'll sort of talk about what it could mean, and just figure out what's going on. All right, Joshua says, I'm turning 30 this year and I'm starting to think about my later years. I've played with stocks for a few years, but now I'm thinking of taking it seriously with some long-term investments. Ah, it's awesome, Josh. Good for you. Yeah, it's always important to start thinking longer term. Good for you, man. I always think it's important to, as soon as you possibly can, get in there. I've got a video on the channel. I think it's kind of clickbaitily titled How to Retire Before 40 at Any Age. Now, of course, if you're 40, that's not going to happen, but it goes through how you can sort of start to plan to retire for any individual age. So you might want to watch that and see what you can do there when you're thinking about your long term. Yeah, Josh, looks like you might have to wait. We've got Jonathan. Looks like we're all going to be waiting a while. I was looking at BlackBerry. That's pinup baby. AMC is down. Oh, is AMC down? We're seeing this big rally right now in GameStop. Let's check out AMC. Okay, AMC, it seems to be up since market open, but it seems like down. That's interesting. Why? I'm trying to read this correctly, but I'm not making the most sense of it. Explain to me why it says that it's up on the day when, oh my gosh. Is this, okay, this is probably, yeah, this is market open. Oh no, market open is all the way here. Okay, so explain to me why clearly this is below where opening is here. I'm not an absolute expert in everything when it comes to reading candlesticks like this. Explain to me why this is lower than where it opened, yet it's showing an increase of 10%. That's what I don't quite understand. If you guys could help me out with that, that'd be awesome. All right. Shane's in here saying, I'm sure that the wait on Wealthsimple is being extended because of the volume of people joining the app. Yes, absolutely. There was an interview on Bloomberg that I watched with the CEO of Wealthsimple. I actually made a video on it a couple days ago and was talking about whether or not they would limit the purchase of these sales. And they said, no, we're not going to do that unless some sort of regulatory body comes down on us and forces us to do that. But what they did say is that they have extremely high amounts of people hopping in and making accounts on Wealthsimple more than ever before. So it could be very true that they're overwhelmed. Of course, it's great for them as a company to have more users, but in order to get your infrastructure and everything up there, it could be kind of challenging for them to keep up with all of the demand. Okay. So, all right, Denise says, I stopped looking at social media trying to find the truth about anything. It kept me awake for almost 3 days straight, went down many rabbit holes. Yeah, sometimes it's good to just unplug and disconnect from things like that. Anyone with Questrade, how much faster is that than Wealthsimple? Any notable fees? I also have a Questrade brokerage account. I opened it just to see how it worked. There's a lot more detailed tools that you can have there. I'm not sure about how fast it was able to transfer my money in there when I opened that account. But I believe there is a fee for most trades. I believe. But it is low fee in most cases. Wealthsimple, you remember, for Canadian stocks and ETFs, most trades are free. But if you want to buy American stock, you're going to have some transactional fees there. All right. So I read an article about BlackBerry working with a new AI technology development firm and thought it sounded interesting. Oh, interesting. Oh, and Josh, you did watch that video. Cool. Thanks for watching it. I really, those types of videos on my channel don't tend to do quite as well as some of the other ones, especially the ones focusing on CRB and helping people through that. But I think it's just as beneficial for me to put out that for the people who do watch it, because that can have a huge impact on your future, especially if you're somebody who's struggling right now during the pandemic and is on these benefits. Taking this time when you might be out of work to invest in your own financial education. You're not going to beat investing in yourself like that. It's a good thing to do right now. That is some good coffee. Can you show us, Andres Show says, can you show us Doggy and why it doesn't move at all? Okay, are you talking about Dogecoin? Let me see if I can track Dogecoin here. This is something a lot of people have been huge on. Elon Musk has tweeted about it, I think. It's an altcoin, and it trades for very, very cheap. but some people, we saw this huge boom on it over the past couple of days. So a lot of people are interested in it, thinking that it's a similar thing to this whole huge growth coming from Reddit. But it is extremely risky, extremely volatile. I wouldn't count on it in any terms. Personally, you can do whatever you'd like with your money. Just make sure you're taking into account all the risks. I'm not sure why it's not moving as much as it was before. Maybe it's stabilized a little bit and people are sort of agreeing on what the value of it is at this time. Okay, so AMC we've seen go a little bit flat here. A little bit flatter than expected. And let's see if GME's kept up that rally. It has. Okay, so now we're starting to see a departure from GameStop and AMC. So I wonder if people are sort of concerting their efforts on GameStop to sort of be this this place where it can be more about the movement than about making a quick buck, right? Wow, very interesting. Okay, we've got more people here in the chat. Thanks so much for hopping in here, you guys. I really appreciate it. If you haven't already done so, hit the like button. It spreads this video to more people. And if you want to support Canadian content, you can send this stream to people who might also be interested in just hanging out with us. I know it's a pretty low-key stream, pretty low production value, but I just like hanging out with you guys. And I figured, why not, right? Just spend the morning. I'm probably going to end this around noon, but thank you for hanging out, you guys. All right. So we've got Liz here. She's 25, entered the new year wanting to get into long-term investing. So I opened a Wealthsimple TFSA, really taking my time to learn. So I haven't purchased anything, but I did get swept up in BlackBerry. Nice. Yeah. I mean, that's the first step, right? Opening up a TFSA investment account. If you haven't already done so, that's the best place to start for investing. Absolutely. Good for you, Liz, for hopping in, just hopping in and learning. Right. Josh is saying, I appreciate the investment related videos, Russell. I think those kinds of videos will do well in the long run, a long-term investment, if you will. I like the terminology. Yeah, definitely a more longer term investment. I love covering the news and sort of pressing topics on this channel when it comes to Canadians. But yeah, I think that there are certain videos that will do well over the long term and can be a resource for people over the years, and more things that will just be like, hey, check out what's happening this week. So thank you for watching those ones. Okay. GME is not a long-term hold. I would agree with that. 7.8 million people on Wall Street Bets saying they are not supporting silver and that it's fake news. That's what we were looking at a little bit before. Let's do a little aside here and take a look at what's going on here at Wall Street Bets. That's something that we've been looking at time and every once in a while here on the stream. Okay. All right, so do not sell. All right, so here's some instructions. So I want okay, and it's getting lots of comments just even as we talk. All right, they're saying do not sell GME at low volume dips. This is a short ladder attack, which doesn't actually accomplish anything as long as you don't sell. Okay, if you see GME falling quickly without volume, this isn't actually sell off of GME shares, but a tactic of hedge funds to scare you into selling GME. Read this thread if you want to know more about this. Okay, so maybe looking at volume, you can find out how many individual trades there were versus someone selling a big position of it, right? And seeing it drop, just one person or one institutional investor. So that's what they were sort of warning against here. We also saw something here. All right. Hey guys, what's the hotkey to go back and forward on your keyboard so I can keep this full screen? I'd love to know. And then we also saw this saying, stop buying silver, you smooth brains. It's technically inversing GME. Okay, so this is more people sort of calling out that silver is not real. Okay, look at this chart. This is some interesting data here. Okay. So look at the volume. This is what we were just talking about. Nobody is selling. It's another attack. So when there's this big dip, right? We saw things going up, and this is the volume of trades, the amount of people purchasing, amount of individuals. Right here, we see not a lot. Like these are. It seems like it's individual investors dropping a bunch to sort of attack the stock price and bring it down. And perhaps that can't be sustained, and it was in an effort to get the momentum rolling to get this to drop. All right. but maybe that's not actually the case. And now we're seeing people sort of build this back up after this sort of attack on the stock. Okay. Shane's saying, I think the interest in Dogecoin is mostly tangentially related to the GameStop situation. People just wandering into the world of stocks and stumbling into Dogecoin because it's cheap. Yeah, I think you might be right there. It's just such a low barrier to enter, Shane, that people might be like, hey, this could be the next Bitcoin, but not really looking into the risks involved with it. All right. So we're seeing it dip back down a little bit here. We got people in the chat saying, any idea how the CRA deals with investing in cryptocurrencies for long term? That's something I'm not entirely familiar with. I need to do a little bit more on that. But my guess is if it's an investment and it's not in a registered account like an RSP, a TFSA, which you can't hold Bitcoin in, to the best of my understanding, then likely it will be taxed at capital gains, whatever rate that capital gains tax is. So you might need to consider that and talk to a tax professional about that. All right. What are the best ways to get a passive income? Well, there's lots of different ways that you can build up passive income. You can like one way that a lot of people talk about is through real estate investing, if you can get into that. Although that's not truly passive, right? Because there is management of tenants, there's all the renovations you have to manage. It really is an active investing strategy. People sort of think real estate investing is passive income, but it's not always the case. One thing that is very passive investing, and get passive income, is dividend stock investing. That will pay you, although not a huge rate. But also, if you have a decent chunk of money, you can get into private lending for real estate and lend out your money to people who are trying to take down real estate deals. You can see lending all the way up to 10, 12, 15% on your money on a yearly basis by private lending your money out. And that's truly passive. There is risk involved, but it's truly passive, right? You're not the active investor. You're the lender of money in that situation. Yeah. Saul saying, high value content though. Oh, thanks for watching and thanks for thinking so, Saul. Thanks for hopping in here. Good luck trying to reach them on the phone to ask. Yeah, you're not going to be able to reach the CRA, especially today with the wait times that we have on these CRB entry days. Okay. Yeah, Johnny confirms it's taxed on capital gains. Yeah, like I was saying. Official Ish says, hey Russell, I am new into the stock market and for my first few shares, I'm considering buying RY, part of a long-term portfolio. Any advice for a newbie? I'm not familiar with RY. What is RY? Oh, Royal Bank of Canada, of course. Yeah. I mean, it's not a bad play. I believe it pays dividends. Yeah. So that's some, let me look at that for you. Yeah. It's dividend rate is 3.4%. So it's kind of like you're lending them your money at that percentage. So I think it's not a bad play. Because they give a dividend, you might not see as much growth in like appreciation of the actual stock. But it is something that's sort of this guaranteed income. Well, guaranteed as close as you can get to guaranteed. They can increase and lower the dividend amount that you get, but it's not a bad play for your first one. Okay. Yeah, thanks for the question, Official Ish. Thank you, Liz, for tuning in. Super interesting stuff. I'm glad you think so. I thought passive income meant put your money under the mattress. Not quite. Yeah, your money isn't really making any more money under the mattress, though. Psychedelic stocks, my dude. That's something I'm seeing a little bit more hype about. Some people think that it could be the next marijuana stocks that we saw way back, like when Canopy growth and Aurora Cannabis were first starting to boom. That's something that as a teenager I kind of rode a little bit and got lucky. I wouldn't recommend it to anybody, but it's something that could have potential for growth in the future, depending on how much you think that these small amounts of psychedelic drugs will be able to be legalized in certain countries, and and also what sort of pharmaceutical applications there could be in the development of those drugs. I'm not a huge expert on that, but that's my take on it right now, at least. Do you think Audible will really get as big as they are saying it will? I thought they were being sued for publishing stuff like that. Well, given the fact that Audible's backed by Amazon, like it's an Amazon product, I think it's going to do well over the long term. I have a lot of faith. Like, say what you will about Jeff Bezos and about the Amazon as a company and how they might exploit certain workers, but I have a lot of faith in the company doing well over the long term. They have such a grip on the market right now, and the products that they're sending, like this service, the delivery, this is not even the largest play for Amazon. I think, like, they have their Amazon Web Services. They handle so much back end for a lot of websites and a lot of different services. I think that that's where Amazon has a lot of strength. And as a result, products like Audible, they've got a lot of backing. So even if they aren't entirely profitable right off the bat, I think that they're more thinking long term. And you'll remember, Amazon started off as just a bookstore, so it kind of makes sense for them to be in a big place for the audiobook world. Yeah. All right. I don't think Audible's going to get any bigger unless there's new innovation to the platform. Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. They're kind of going the way of Netflix and Disney Plus in creating original content, and having things where you don't have to spend a credit on the audiobook. You can just get it's like a streaming service for audiobooks and podcasts and things like that. That seems to be the direction they're going. All right, let's do a quick comparison and see what's going on here. I clicked on something. Let's take a look at AMC, see if it's tracking the same way. So we're seeing it sort of stabilize here around the $14, $15 mark, right in the middle, and not as much movement as we're seeing this buyback of GME. So the hypothesis is that right here, this dip, I'm going to make that line smaller. I can do that. We have the technology. The hypothesis is that this drop that we saw here in the stock was due to a large amount of institutional investors all selling a large portion of shares in order to drive the price down. And maybe they thought that maybe everyone would buy into that and sell, just trying to get out while they still can. But what we're seeing is this is like popping back up, and people aren't selling. People are actually buying more stocks, and we're seeing this go up. It could be a portion of institutional investors who have short positions needing to buy these stocks. This could be part of the short squeeze, right? But it also could be that they try to wait us out and they just let the stock fluctuate as it will for the next week, and then see what happens from there. Okay. Denise says, oh yeah, we've been through that. Hi, thanks for the information. Thanks for tuning in. Drone delivery, too early to get in. If you mean drone delivery for Amazon, I think that's something that's likely in the future. Tesla could also have a big infrastructure play in the future. I was watching this great video that talked about what Tesla is doing with their self-driving cars right now. They're sort of using a neural network to act as eyes for their cars so that they can sort of construct what's around them. Now, that's exactly what other sort of tech is going to need to do to perform some other jobs, right? Instead of having somebody, like, think in the future, 10, 15, 20 years, instead of somebody driving for Uber Eats, right, and bringing you your food to your door, it could be a self-driving Tesla car with some sort of machine or robot, for lack of a better word, that would use the same neural network to recognize what's around it, be able to open your side gate and drop your food off at your front door, right? There's a lot of plays there for Tesla to change the infrastructure of a whole bunch of industries that we haven't even thought of. So drone delivery by Amazon or this sort of delivery by Tesla, I think we could see a lot of disruption in the network of infrastructure of delivery and even in supply chains, like self-driving like freighters and huge trucks that are bringing products across. There's a lot more than just the individual cars, I believe. Yeah. Okay. I wish I had some money saved away for this worldwide event. I will say I saw it, but couldn't be part of it. It sucks. Denise, it's not a big deal if you're not a part of it. It's cool to be a part of it and to be in it, but I'd say just by being here on the stream, you're kind of a part of it. All right. So what's your favorite Selena Gomez song? I couldn't tell you a single Selena Gomez song. I don't know. Lose You to Love Me. That's one that was on the radio. I heard that one. All right, let's check in on here on AMC and see if silver also is making any gains. Still stable on AMC. Silver, a little bit of a peak up, but I doubt that's from the media and Reddit attention. I doubt it. All right, let's see if Bloomberg has any more interesting articles. So they're doing the same sort of main one. Okay, so we have some more updates on what's happening with Robinhood in the States that could explain what's happening with the stocks in general. Okay, so we know this. They've cut down on allowing people to buy the stock, and that happened a while ago. This was an interesting interview. The CEO actually went on a live sort of radio type call with Elon Musk, who asked him questions, and he sort of explained the reasons why they were limiting the trades. But it's not really bringing down any anger that people have with Robinhood right now. So I wonder if there's any updates here on what's actually happening and whether or not they're going to be able to open the amount of okay, so this is what they're trading. Oh, interesting. Take a look at this, you guys. Take a look. So Robinhood, and this might have been announced last night, but it's interesting to see. Due to the way that they have to put a deposit down for the amount of trades that they have with their clearinghouse, Robinhood, when there are trades happening, needs to deposit huge amounts of money, $1, $2, $3 billion, in order to make sure that these trades get executed, to put it in a simple sense. So in order to keep that limit down so that they don't have to have this money liquid to put down this deposit, they're putting these limits on the trades. You can only buy 10 shares of AMC a day, 700 BlackBerry, 20 EXPR, 1 GME, 600 Genus, 2 COS, 600 Naked, 2000 of Nokia. So they're going to continue limiting it this, and it's because they don't have enough money to put down with their clearinghouse in order to allow people to buy in. So that's interesting to see and to actually have that in front of us. Let me know what you guys think about that in the chat. All right, let's hop back here and keep our eyes on GME and see if this rally is going to keep going. All right, some questions here in the chat. Let's cover it. All right. Russell, are TFSAs only for long-term investing? No, not necessarily. Although I always recommend long-term investing as your main goal is to invest for the long term in companies that you love and you want to hold for the long term. But TFSAs, you can do multiple strategies with them. If you have enough money to fill up a TFSA and then invest more money, I would actually recommend doing riskier plays in your TFSA, because you don't have to pay tax on the growth. So by riskier, I mean potential to go down a lot, but also potential to go up a lot. If you're holding riskier things in your TFSA, then the growth that you see on those more riskier plays, if they work out, will be taxed less, rather than holding them outside of a TFSA and having to pay tax on the growth. So if you hold only safe things in your TFSA, then that's fine. You're also not going to be taxed on it. But the opportunity for growth in your TFSA without taxation, it's an opportunity there, right? But again, that only applies if you have your full amount of contribution for your TFSA. Otherwise, I'd just go with whatever mix of risk versus not risk inside of your TFSA. That's my recommendation. But again, do your own research. Again, I'll emphasize it's down in the description, but I'm not a licensed professional or financial advisor. Recommend that you take a look at these things yourself and sort of use this as a launching point to figure out what you want to learn more about. Okay. Quest Wealth portfolios, pre-built ETF portfolios. Yeah, they're great. They're great, Saul. Great for people who want to put their money in and not have to think about things a lot. I think that's a great thing to do. And it helps with the psychology, right? If you put all your money in somewhere and you know you're not going to sell it, it can help you avoid selling off when the market gets a little rough, which is so key, right? You don't want to sell at bottoms and then buy at highs, right? Okay, Liz says, TFSA, yes, is designed for long-term investing, and you are not supposed to do day trading. They'll come after you for that, but shorter-term swing trading is... Yeah, so I'm not... It depends on what type of short term you're talking about. Liz. Yeah, day trading I wouldn't recommend doing inside of your TFSA, but it depends on what you consider short term, I suppose. Yeah, Liz, you've got it exactly right. Awesome. All right, so we're seeing this dip down a little bit. It seems like it's going to bounce up and down here today for the rest of the day, and we're going to have to keep our eyes on this. Let's go over to Reddit and Wall Street Bets one more time before we consider closing off the stream here and seeing what's going on here. All right. Not many new posts. We got this daily discussion thread. Let's take a look at what's going on here. Okay. So people are just like trying to pump these stocks. Nothing really new here. People just saying hold, Hodor. Game of Thrones references, love it. Okay, well, the situation is evolving as we go. If anything drastic happens and I find out about it, I'll hop on this live again and let you guys know what's going on. I think we're getting close to the end of this stream now. Does anyone have any final questions for the stream before we sort of close it off here? Let me know, and I'll try to do a little bit of a Q&A here for anything you guys might want to know about. And again, let me know where you're from. If you haven't already, like this stream, subscribe to the channel, notification bell. I'm bringing information like this about anything relating to Canadians, especially Canadians and their money, right here on the channel. So if you want to stay tuned for stuff like that, feel free to. I'll hang out here for a little bit to let the stream catch up and see what questions you guys have as we look at AMC here, sort of taking a little bit of a dip. Well, GME also taking a little bit of a dip after regaining for quite a while. Okay, so here's a good question from Living Our Dream, or Living Our Destiny, rather. The question should be, why all of a sudden is Robinhood being required to have more liquidity? Funny, their clearinghouse is Citadel, isn't it? Didn't Citadel bail out the hedge fund? Yeah, so this is the storyline that people are really taking a look at. What's interesting is that, so Citadel is the one who's raising the capital requirements for Robinhood. So they've said, hey, because of how volatile things are, because of this risk, this algorithm determines how much you have to put down as a deposit. You have to put down $3 billion, they said. And Citadel was the one who kind of, in a lot of people's eyes, arbitrarily sort of set this because it was their decision, or rather their algorithm. But the reason that Citadel is doing that, or at least what I think, is that they don't want to be in the position where they're not able to execute these trades because there's not enough sellers for buyers or buyers for sellers, right? If Citadel collapses, then who's left on the hook? It's the people who buy the stocks and buy the shares, because all of a sudden you've tried to buy, you've tried to sell, you've been told that it worked, but you don't actually get your stock, or you don't actually get your money for selling your stock, which causes a whole meltdown or collapse of the financial situation. So I think that's the reason we're seeing these increased limits to slow things down, but it does not look good on Robinhood. That is for sure. All right. Yeah, thanks Pinup Baby for hanging out and watching. People saying bye. Yeah, thanks for hanging around, guys. We're going to close off once we get through these questions. What do you think is going to happen to BlackBerry? In terms of their long-term plan, I guess they've done some investing into security and things like this. If it's being pumped right now by Reddit, I don't expect that to happen for the long term. It's probably going to stabilize. And I'll have to do a little bit more research on them as a company and what their plan is going forward to have an actually informed opinion on that for you. And Bad Guy on Me says, Russell's the man. Yeah, thanks so much, Bad Guy on Me, for that super chat that you gave earlier, too. That was so nice to have that little flurry there. That's so nice. And yes, because people, they can do that. That's the point. They bail out a billionaire, but let small retail fail. This is the point of the whole movement, I believe. Yeah, we're going to have to wait and see what's going on. But yeah, thank you guys for watching so much. I'm going to keep on updating you about this situation as things change. But for now, I'm gonna call it there. So Shane, I believe there should be a Discord link in the description. Here, I'll drop it into the chat first for anybody who wants to hop in, keep the conversation going. This is where we all chat. Everybody who watches the videos on this channel. Let me grab this link. All right. Okay, so I just copied it, and here is the link to the Discord. If you guys want to hang out and keep talking throughout the day, I'll be replying here and there to comments in there. We talk about Canadian benefits, investing, real estate, basically all the stuff we've been talking about here on the stream. So if you like the community and you've met some cool people here, then that is the place where we can hang out and chat and answer each other's questions and hang out. So thanks so much for hanging around, you guys, and I'll see you next time.